Welcome back to the home studio and welcome to episode 83, take 2 of the Stevie Richards show. We did record this a few days ago, but now we're back and hopefully this take will be much better. And joining me is the person that also decided we should probably cut it out for the night immediately after the Royal Rumble 2026, which will be a review show today. Welcome, my co-host, another tired co-host, James Romero.
I was tired on Saturday, so I start at 11:30 p.m. and I know I'd had at least one bottle of wine, and I was just like really tired. And then Stevie was really tired for different reasons, and then my baby started screaming, and then we decided after half an hour, do you know what? We can't do this. And then you were ready to do it on Sunday, and I just kind of went, you know what? It's Sunday. Let's leave it. Let's just do it on a Monday like humans with a 9-to-5 job. And so that's why this video's out a little later than we originally intended. It could have been out on Sunday if we got it done quick enough, but I think we put a bit too much pressure on ourselves there.
It was good to try. Let's put it that way. And also your lovely daughter got to meet my cats. So we were trying to get her to stop fussing. We brought Mia and Pokey in, and you said she had never seen a cat before. So I was like, here's a 23-pound one. That's when her eyes lit up. She was like, oh my God, that cat weighs as much as I do.
No, the funny thing was, right, because I've got two screens. So as soon as you put the cat up, she wasn't pointing at you. She pointed at the other screen, which was a Word document. For some reason, that was interesting to her, all of a sudden at that point. So she was pointing at a Word document and chatting away. Man, she was sick. But yeah, once again, real life got in the way, so we had to...
Maybe start writing the scripts for the show. That'd be great. Put her to work.
She was chunnering away like you wouldn't believe. I mean, other script writers I've had have been, well, you know. All right, then. Let's do the intro. I've got my stuff out. I'm only plugging the solo channel for now. James Romero, if you want some news and some in-depth, I won't say insight, but I just talk about news, I guess, really. And it does quite well. And then on Stevie Richards' side, we've got the fitness channel with all the documentaries coming out, doing really, really well at the moment. I encourage you all to go and follow him there. He's going to be doing stuff. Well, I'm trying to get him to do stuff on ICO Pro, which would be a good crossover for the wrestling fans as well. But also there is the cameo. Stevie's doing many, many cameos because many, many people... see the 5-star reviews that happen constantly. One of the most requested celebrities, not just wrestlers and all of Cameo, because not only is he too good value for money, he gives you more than your money's worth as well. And most importantly of all, for the Stevie Richards Show, there is the Stevie Richards Show Patreon. What is coming up what day is it today? This will be out on Tuesday.
Monday, so it's right now the watch along, which I completely forget what we did. You are now able to see the watch along every Monday in the States, 9 a.m. Eastern time. But for next Monday, we watched, at the request of one of our OG Patreon supporters, Nixus, we watched CM Punk versus Shane Douglas, the Orange House of Fun match, but actually the Clockwork Orange. We just said Orange House of Fun to get Taz all riled up. The Orange and Black House of Fun match. How's that? Hey, by the way, the cameo, or the fitness stuff, I am going to do ICO Pro. It's in the queue, I promise you.
And the World Bodybuilding Federation.
Possibly. I'm looking into that to see, because there might be some people that are the people still alive from that time that did the body?
It was like Gary Stridham.
Gary Stridham was one. Well, Luger was in the WBF, so I can always ask him.
He was. I mean, just for the story is that Lou Ferrigno was meant to be attached to it, but then they told him there were certain tests that apparently nobody actually. And
I wasn't working in the company at that point, so no, I'm sorry, Lou Ferrigno couldn't do it.
Yeah. Oh no, I think they were going to give him like $1 million or something like that. And this is '92 when like that WWF was dying at that point, and they were getting rid of everybody, and they were doing all the tests. But for some reason, I've got the feeling that if you look at, I think Gary Stridham might have even done an interview and said, oh no, they said we weren't testing, but yeah, no, we weren't. Or it was fine. Or maybe they said, we're going to test you, but there aren't any punishments for what might come up on those tests.
Is it like New York State Athletic Commission? How do you feel? Fine. Ready to go. Even though you're bleeding from your nose, eyes, ears, everything like that. By the way, in '92, when the WBF was there, it had to cause a big stir in the locker room. You know why? They were offering guaranteed contracts, and the boys were getting nothing at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually subsidizing WBF, much like the the money from the boys kind of felt like with the checks that it subsidized the XFL because checks were way down during those times.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was going to say the XFL was the same thing, and you're working more dates for less money, pretty much. Is that right?
It felt like the checks went way, way down during that time. Yeah, correct.
Right then, we are going to be talking about the Royal Rumble 2026, and we've got a good few talking points as well. We will be doing match reviews as well, for some of them at least. But first off, we must talk about the arena itself. There's been a lot of videos out there, a lot of posts. Even I did a post. I didn't realize anyone else was talking about it. Was a lot throughout the show. It certainly looked like. Hang on, what is going on here?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm enjoying the Royal Rumble right now. This is great. Enjoy the Royal Rumble. Oh, God, look at me. I can't see anything. I have cataracts now, but the Royal Rumble looks good to me.
Dude, you know that you did have cataracts and now they're all gone.
Yeah, I zapped them like my tattoo.
Oh, man, dude, mine's itching so bad. I had laser tattoo removal thing recently. Oh my goodness, does it itch?
What were you writing down when I was literally singeing my retinas with that tube light?
I was just writing audience, and I was also trying to. Hang on one sec. So I've got the same one.
Sure. That could be our thumbnail. That could be our thumbnail. Us watching Royal Rumble.
Zoom, zoom. Yeah.
Come on, let's do it. Come on, man. Oh, geez. Focus breathing.
Yeah, I know. I've turned the light wrong. Hang on. That'll do. Oh, God.
Mommy, Daddy, I can't see the ring or anything in my life from now on. Welcome to the Royal Rumble.
So did you think when you were watching that, you were like, man, that's looking empty?
We were texting each other during that time. I was like, what's going on with the lights? And it doesn't look like, it looks like where the hard camera would be usually, where there was literally no people there. But then we saw there were people there, which led to the joke word, the running gag we have on this episode, where I was like, how in the world do those people see? How's that light work and not obstruct the view or not do anything? Very weird.
Well, the panel, like the light panel that they had, like in all the seats, was kind of facing away from the people. So you'd have it like, it'd almost be like I'm sat here and then it'd be like there in front of them.
But it's still peripheral vision has to be, you have to see some light that's bleeding through your peripheral vision. I looked at it, I thought of like bumper cars or something that have the things sticking up the back on your left to right. But you said this was a 2012 Olympics type lightings, during the ceremony, and they've done this before with the same exact effect. But with pro wrestling, it really, you want to see the sea of people out there or darken it to where you don't see anything but the ring.
Yeah, because you were also telling me that with your feed, you were not hearing the fans very much, where for me, I was hearing the fans pretty well. So I think it also depended on the feed. So you were like, the crowd is dead. Oh, it now makes sense because no one's there. I was like, there doesn't seem to be much of crowd there.
In crowd noise.
Yeah, but that's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought it was at first. But then they raise the house lights, and you can see this in the AJ Gunther match. There's like loads of different shots there that will probably B-roll in and, to make the point. But when the house lights came up, those seats, at least on the opposite end of the stage, were like 3/4 full. It was a bit patchy here and there. But when those lights went down and those light panels were shining, you could only see people in the seats who were wearing bright white. That was it. And then everything else looked like an empty seat.
It's quite the optical illusion because you would think people wearing different stuff. They were all uniformly kind of like washed out by the lights, which if you were looking at the Steadicam, I think it was the Steadicam shot, and they were putting the lights like spotlights going out and everything. It looked cool. Like, that was like, it'd be cool kind of thing, but I still stand by my peripheral vision will be suffering. But of course, my cataracts will be gone by the end of the pay-per-view. So it's all good.
Oh, dude, my dad has to have injections in his eye for cataracts, like straight through the center, and it makes go, oh, even thinking about it.
That's a horror movie waiting to happen.
Yeah, dude,
or
you should
has
just go to
happened.
Saudi Arabia and just like sit in the crowd. It would be burnt out of him by the next day.
Well, that's a good segue for the accelerated time it took to build the actual stadium where those lights were in as well.
Yes, it's brought up some human rights potential issues there, where apparently this stadium was knocked up in a month or less. And this isn't like the WrestleMania 9 thing. They had a load of like really interesting staging, like in Vegas many years ago. But this was just like built up in a car park in of a municipal government building or something. And then it'll probably just be torn right down again. But like technically speaking, it brings up the light situation again, because just think how long it would take just to wire all those up and then everything else. And, it's not like the old WrestleMania 9 was probably just like a big empty room where Gorilla was, and a few trailers at the back. This would have been, you've got to build like the Gorilla position up and stuff. And you have to make it a proper little locker room these days, I think. That a month or less.
Yeah, and I know for those shows, Charles Robinson, good friend of the show, evil man, most evil ref ever. I think he cost AJ the match, by the way. We'll talk about that later. He was leaving well over a week before the show, Royal Rumble, to set up the actual stage, the lighting, probably that corral position. But yeah, they showed a time lapse in the beginning, if I'm not mistaken, of them building it from a parking lot and just erecting it and legitimately making it look like a real stadium, not a makeshift parking lot show with a box truss. It was, man, like you said, just to wire that thing, and they're right in the middle of traffic on both sides too. Like it was pretty amazing. But of course, who did the work and how did they get it done so quick?
Just to go back on the lighting thing, I did say that with the Olympics. I went back and watched the video because I remember everyone being washed out. But at that point, they were supposed to be, because it was the light show that was meant to be the star. And that was one of the first examples I ever saw of like all these light panels on everybody's seat that they could, program and make a light show of. Whereas this, even when the lights went up, there were a lot of people on the hard cam floor side that were completely empty. Loads of seats completely empty. And then there was only one shot where the lights were up, I think, where it was a bit too wide and you could see the hard cam side and it was like near empty there. So, and that isn't a lighting trick. They put the lights up when there was nobody there. So that kind of leads me to ask, I understand why the Saudi government is wanting to bring in big name events in the name of bringing more eyeballs in, to promote them, basically promote themselves on the world stage. That's what it is, and whatever else they want to say about their country, I guess. But they can't even fill 25,000 seats. Like, not even close to. Which is...
With the pricing they had.
And the pricing was low. Like, VIP ground floor near the ring was like $300 and something. Like, compared to, 5 figures easily for the equivalent in the United States. They were pricing this thing to sell. And there just doesn't seem to be that much of an appetite for wrestling over there. So why are they overpaying so much?
I'm not sure, but you said the lowest ticket price was as low as $7, correct?
No, that was the meet and greet
I'm sorry.
beforehand. But like, imagine, like I told you, we said this on the scrap show on Saturday. The meet and greet for like some big names as well, like The Vision and whoever else it might have been, $7, right? And I don't know how they did, of course. But the equivalent, if you're going to go to a meet and greet with WWE, you're looking at, a lot of these are included in your tickets, and these tickets are all 5 figures. Like with the Hall of Fame, it's the same thing. With certain PLEs, it's the same thing, where the meet and greet's only for people who are spending a huge amount of money. Or if you were going to go meet John Cena, for example, you'd be paying hundreds and hundreds just for a quick autograph, shake your hand, goodbye. So they're pricing these things to sell, and they're still not biting.
Well, maybe there's an alternative way of looking at this, not so much the vacuum or just right there with the one show. But remember, Riyadh season has had comedy acts, has had music, has had just a ton of things going on.
Yeah, Bill Burr.
Maybe the people are, what's that?
Bill Burr.
Burr, the comedian festival. But I'm just saying.
No, I mean, that's killed his career half to death, pretty much that.
Well, Shane Gillis may have made definitely a more, a better decision for long-term career. He's probably going to make his money back and more in the future by refusing. And he stood out more by refusing and with all the other comedians. But I'm just saying, that show, a ton of other things, they show the Riyadh season with like Hans Zimmer and the Morgan Freeman and all these different people. do you think the people are tapped out on money from paying for all these other things that led up to this? And we're just like, I just guess, I don't know what the lowest ticket price is, but maybe it's just the interest, or maybe the bloom is off the rose, as Vince McMahon used to say way back in the day. How many shows have they had now where the people are like, yeah, WWE, it's
Yeah,
nothing special or new now to them?
well, it's always in the same city, or nearly. It's always nearly always in Riyadh. I think they've only had it in 2 major cities in Saudi, and it's mostly in Riyadh, these shows. So they're there at least once a year, if not twice. But what worries me is that, not worries me, but with the Royal Rumble, it's the second biggest pay-per-view. And if you want to use metrics, you can use the old pay-per-views for the most part, SummerSlam or Royal Rumble. But on Netflix, the Royal Rumble was more watched than anything else. I think apart from WrestleMania, but I might even be wrong on that. Royal Rumble's a huge, huge event, and it has been for decades now. But they couldn't even get close to selling out for it, and it wasn't the biggest venue in the world.
But that's not the biggest. That's not the biggest source of income for them. They
There's
got
no source of
300.
income.
No, but I'm saying no, not for Saudi. I'm talking about WWE.
Yeah,
They don't have to try to sell tickets or sell a pay-per-view because these are one of 2 sold shows. Royal Rumble this year, WrestleMania 43. We said somewhere between what, $300 to $350 million for 2 shows. WWE's income-based model, or what they're trying to make money on, the ticket sales and the fans are almost last place behind Saudi, behind the billions of dollars in licensing fees. We can even look at merchandise and other things that make money. The ticket sales, it's literally just Saudi did it for PR. Let's call it what it is, right? To be on the world stage, to have positive PR, because quite frankly, Khashoggi and other things, they've got plenty of negative PR throughout the past years, if not decades. And I'm sure the stadium workers would agree with that.
I think the point I'm making is that WWE TKO especially does such a great job of hyping themselves up to these major investors, and none of the investors seem happy with it. Like Netflix, I can't imagine doing backflips because the live showings are doing so few views. We don't know what they are, but the advertising rate's very cheap. And then there's, I don't know if I may have said that on Saturday, like as low as $9,000 for a 30-second
We're considering it, right?
Yeah, we should do it, definitely. And then, ESPN has already said that they're not happy. And then they came out and said that they were, but they couldn't be if you do the maths on it. As far as, sign-ups versus, how much they're paying for these PLEs. So we've got ESPN, we've got Netflix, and we've got Saudi Arabia all like vastly overpaying for WWE content. Like WWE is great at building themselves up, to future investors, and no one ever sees a return.
Well, yeah, I think the ultimate sell is going to be to the Saudis. I think right now they know we're just trying to beef up the portfolio. We're trying to lower as much overhead as we can, show as much profit, and make the most amount of money. Now, here's a question about this. If the Saudi royal family, whoever's in charge of purchasing WWE, potentially purchasing them, looks at the fact that they couldn't even fill this up, and we don't know what the buy rates are going to be or what the subscriptions, if just out of curiosity, people said, okay, well, I've never seen a Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. I've never seen, although the greatest Royal Rumble was a thing not too long ago. Remember that? Mm-hmm. So do you think Saudi would look at this and say, maybe we should think again about this? Or do you think Saudi's in the long game saying, if and when we own WWE and all these other elements and UFC and all this, are we going to be the central hub for entertainment? Remember, they have the line that they're trying to build as well, that self-sustaining city that's like, what, $1 trillion now or more? Mm. They want to bring things there as well. So they could definitely be playing the long game. If they're paying $300 to $350 million for 2 shows, what's $1 trillion? Or what's it going to be to buy TKO? 50, 100 billion? Here you go.
You know what? Maybe they should have brought Akon in. Was it Akon who was trying to build that $1 billion city in Africa somewhere?
I'm not aware of that.
Oh, you've got to Google it. I hope it's Akon if it's not someone else. But anyway, you've got to search for that. Right. Well, let's get to the Royal Rumble itself, but really what we're doing at the beginning anyway is doing the jumping off point to Triple H's latest ego play, which, to be honest, is great for us because it's always wonderful content. Wonderful content.
I'm gonna buy him dinner. Just the AdSense money alone. Nothing too expensive, by the way, Hunter. Take it to Culver's or something. But really, I mean, this is just when people say the negative emotions or we're having a negative reaction to this. This is so much fun. And it's just like, it's obvious. And guess what? I said it in the scratch show, as we call it now. I'm just doing the George Carlin type of perspective with this. I'm literally doing what he told me to do. Enjoy the show. I'm enjoying this.
He is the show.
Like, by the way, Renee Dupre texted me this morning knowing we were going to do this. Not only the quad story, the seamstress had to make his lats smaller because his lats measured larger. I'm not kidding. Straight from him.
Right, we'll get to that in a second.
Must be exhausting, man. I'm so glad. I'm so glad I don't think a whole lot of myself.
Yeah, I know, but it's like whenever the latest Triple H thing is like, I think we started rolling our eyes, and I think now we're getting like a fist pump in the air, like, yes, there's another video that we know is going to do
in the top 10. He draws for us. So Triple H, you're a legend. You're a draw.
Okay, let's get to the Royal Rumble. How did it start, Stevie? Apart from the ident that, of course, Triple H voices over.
I was going to say, I don't know how it started. They could have been. He wasn't. Now, here's the interesting thing. Let's back up because we did cover it on that. You, interestingly enough, said, because we saw the UFC type arriving at the arena or walking outside or getting in the mindset to work, they showed all these people that got huge reactions, huge pops. Rhea Ripley, Punk, who else? AJ Styles. It might not have been Punk. I'm just saying, everybody they showed, Drew getting out of the Dodge Ram truck, product placement, brother.
Oh, dude, it worked on me. I was Googling to see if there were any right-hand drive.
And you found it.
There is one, but it was £150,000.
You don't ever want to buy a Stellantis product. As much as I'm tempted to buy a Jeep Wrangler, my wife, both of us, they're the least reliable cars out there and trucks. Stellantis bought them and they're garbage. But it worked on you.
It's just my brother's got a Ford Ranger at the moment. So it's a good car. But he was just like, man, it's not the same as, because he had a Range Rover, he was like, I've got a Range Rover Autograph Edition. And, it's a nice car. And he just went, dude, you can't go back. Once you've had a Range Rover, man, you can't go back to thinking, but I've told him that I'm going to get a Land Rover 130, Defender 130, the big one, like with so many seats, I could have like the Von Trapp family all in with me driving.
And you can arrive at the, you'll never go to Saudi Arabia after the videos you made, so we can scratch that out. No. I got a Honda Ridgeline. They call it a NART, not a real truck, but I love it. So let's get back to this, though. Everybody got an overwhelmingly positive reaction. People were genuinely excited to see him until you pointed one particular person out that actually got booed in Saudi Arabia. I'm going to let you say who it is.
I was stifling a burp then at that time. I knew you were throwing to me. Triple H, he got booed. Why? He was the guy I know Vince McMahon was the guy who, did the deal ultimately. But why Triple H get booed? That was very interesting.
I have no idea. And the thing is that we expected the live in-ring opening, Are You Ready? For the Saudi Arabia people. And they definitely showed that during the show where he got booed. So did they just cut everything real quick and go, they already had the voiceover montage and the, cinematic thing, which was really well done with him walking down that very, very, I guess, very medieval type, walkway with the arches and everybody's showing. Nobody does it better than WWE when it comes to that stuff. But of course, he had to talk about him winning the Rumble twice.
He did that. Do you think that TKO was Christopher Walken and Triple H as the cowbell? Or do you just think this show just needs more Triple H?
Yeah, but this would be, you know what? And you made a great point about the video game. We'll get to that and everything about the Triple H fatigue being real. But I would have said that this particular one would have been the one for him to be featured and voiced over because he did win 2 Royal Rumbles and go to WrestleMania. I can get that. What I would have liked to see was maybe every Royal Rumble winner doing their little piece of a voiceover throughout the years, like Austin and even Shawn and other people. That would have been,
And you, 2004.
yeah, me as him, the guy went on the WrestleMania 20 in the ring with Eddie Guerrero.
Do you know what was so funny is that Michael Cole said, who came out for it? One Braun Breaker because they screwed up the graphics on SmackDown and announced him as one. Who was number one?
Obafemi.
Obafemi, thank you. And then they said, only 3 people have won the Royal Rumble from number one. He declined to mention them all. Did Michael Cole?
Well, at least they stick. Hey, at least they stick to that. You know, saying he'll never be mentioned again, and you know, can you really blame them? That would bring up other things. But yeah, I mean, that was weird with not having Braun Breaker as number one, which would have made a huge difference. Getting a towel, the Black Scorpion came out. I always loved it. You just see my text. I love the Black Scorpion. The Black Scorpion's here.
It wasn't Seth. It was not Seth. Right. Okay. We're getting ahead of ourselves, and we will get to the men's Royal Rumble. But we have a. There are theories of who was the Black Scorpion, because it wasn't Seth, because whoever had it, a scruffy little blonde beard in the mask. If you really zoom in, you can see it. But let us stick with Triple H for now. So we've got the ego stuff, and just in case anybody,
I tried to just move on, and
we are dragging it back to you.
Because in the scratch show, let's say this right away. In the scratch show, this guy over here, you won't say it, but this guy, James Romero, says to me, and I was like, oh, well, I said something to the effect of, my God, we keep doing these clips, and where he keeps doing whatever, and you're like, well, you keep talking about it. I'm like, well, where's this you come from? You know, thanks a lot doing the Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart. You go. You go. You were holding me in front. I was Elizabeth, and you were Savage holding me in front of you.
Well, you do keep talking about it, though, in fairness. I keep bringing it up. What can I tell you? You got to give the people what they want, right? Let's do the old ego thing, and we'll get to the game cover. Let's get to the game cover first, right? So he is part of the King of Kings edition, one of 3 special editions of 2K26, which we are going to review this year, I promise you. And we should also do the live streaming thing. We always said we'd do one streaming video with the game, and I think we could do that for that as like a pre-WrestleMania thing. And I said, hey, let's just do it for charity or something like that, you know, and then if that works, we'll keep the money for every other stream we ever do. But the first one will be charity, at least. And so it's 2K26, and then there's CM Punk on the regular edition. So he's really the cover star. But then they've got the Triple H version, then they've got a Monday Night Wars version with 12 people on. And then they've got Booker T's on it, which is kind of weird, I think, with WCW. But then there's also the Attitude Era version as well, which we'll get to as well. But he's only the 4th, I think, like, I guess, legendary wrestler, you would call it, who's ever been on a cover solo. And the other ones are The Rock, Steve Austin, and The Undertaker, I believe I'm right in saying, is part of, like, the mainline games. And a lot of people were saying that Triple H didn't deserve it, or that it was the wrong year for him. And other people were saying, well, he was a huge star, why shouldn't he be on the cover, kind of thing. And is it because it's this year and Triple H has burned through a lot of goodwill over the past 12 months?
Yeah, I think so. I think now it's finally now cool to kind of get on Triple H about that. We see a lot of videos talking about, you know, the Triple H era and how bad it is and everything. I think it would have been perfect when he was officially kind of known on the forefront of controlling the product, of guiding the product, of being in charge of creative. The Triple H era, if it lined up with whatever 2K, what was it, 22 or 23, wherever we knew Triple H was in charge and Vince is actually completely gone, I think that would have been like the Triple H era would have been ushered in with the video game and everything like that, and would have really featured a lot of people from NXT and stuff, like trying to bridge it as I'm on the cover, but it's all about all the superstars and everything. I think he could have, but in 2026 now, it's cool and actually gets views to talk about these kinds of things. And I don't know where, when people ask, like, where did it happen? Where did the goodwill go away? when did Hunter stop trying to be so different than Vince, or when did Hunter start to try to carve his own niche, and when did that become a jump the shark moment? Those are all very interesting questions. He started out with so much excitement and goodwill from the fans.
I still think WrestleMania 41, because that was the last of it, I think, with, with the whole Travis Scott thing and they thinking it a great idea and The Rock. You can tell there's some sort of power play going on. And, years down the line, we will finally find out who said what when, which would be great. But I think that was the end of it, really, the goodwill, because that was such a letdown of a show. And then the rest of 2025 was kind of bland for the most part. And then they started reducing the amount of matches on every major show. And it's just, there's just nothing really going on for the most part. I mean, of all the shows, I think SmackDown's been the best recently.
Let me ask you this question, because we talk a lot about this stuff rolling downhill, and the agents or producers are basically the scapegoats for whoever's above them. Then those are, there's a lot of scapegoats where you can protect your spot. Is Triple H the scapegoat for TKO? The person is, because these decisions do not seem like a person like Triple H, who's really been trained and groomed for this spot, as well as having the inner circle knowledge and a Killer Kowalski student. And he's got a great deal of real world booking, character, and psychology experience. We can't deny that. But at the same time, is he just the guy delivering the message? Is he James J. Dillon? Is he Jim Ross? Is he Johnny Ace would enjoy doing it? But I'm just saying, is he the bad cop in this? And will he eventually be the scapegoat, which he's trying to counter by making himself as indispensable as possible?
That's interesting, because I was thinking it's not quite the same, but it'd be kind of like having UFC whatever 6 come out and then Dana White's on the cover. It's not the same, because obviously he was never a fighter or a major star, but he's so integral to UFC's operations. And Triple H is Dana White, as far as like visibility goes and like how tied he is to, the day-to-day decisions of the company, even though he doesn't own it. And Dana White doesn't own UFC anymore, of course, either. But I kind of thought it was like, it'd be kind of weird having just Dana White on the game cover at this point. But we were talking about the ego thing, and if people don't know it, Rene Dupree had his legs undermeasured because the seamstress said, and apparently his lats as well, because the seamstress said, well, nobody can have bigger legs or lats apparently than Triple H, so I'll have to now undermeasure you for ego's sake. Which is weird, because, like, Rhino's in the company at the time. He had the biggest legs in the world. He's one leg. He's just one big leg. The
I
Big
heard they
Show
were
was
thinking
there
about
as well.
amputating them. They're doing the amputation angle, I heard.
Oh, man. But is that Gavin still around? Just get him.
I know why he didn't like me. He would feel great about himself if I just hung around him. Nobody has smaller arms or quads or lats than me.
There's a lot of people now in the company, I'll guarantee you that. So I thought, well, this is just like rampant ego. He's always, and also it's the most famous one. I sent you this because somebody sent this to me, was the original article that was posted on FSN saying, and apparently the journalist who wrote that article got fired for posting the memo from THQ that said that Triple H could not be seen in a downed or vulnerable position in any advertising. No other person on the roster got that privilege.
And people thought that we were crazy or lying or just making it up, but we had a comment, I couldn't find it, in that video where one of the people from the developer team said, yeah, that's absolutely true. And then this article, and that person was, man, they went scorched earth on him, didn't they? Sorry, Paul, here's a screenshot. He couldn't have looked worse. That was like, even I would be like, dude, you don't have to go that far with it. He looked like Glenn. And of course, one of my best friends, Glenn, is the one standing over him pointing. And Hunter not only looks like he's out, he looks like Glenn knocked one of his eyeballs towards his nose. It was just like, oh.
It's just like the whole YouTube thumbnail was hilarious. The best one is the Ultimate Warrior Triple H match. He lost in 99 seconds, and the thumbnail is him giving the pedigree to Ultimate Warrior.
That's a little bit. There's quite a bit of smoke where there's fire on that one, right? That's a little bit.
There's got to be. But then there's also like, I mean, even on the game cover itself, which I'll bring up in a bit, but they edited his chest to round it out, and we'll see that afterwards as well. But let's go to, and I'm going to skip to this. Here we go. Oh, I've got to share this with you as well. I'm sorry, Stevie. So I was thinking, how many covers has he been on? And we're going to skip through this kind of quickly. So he's got to be the main cover star, not in, a bunch of different people. And I'd say on this one, Steve Austin, maybe The Rock, and then Triple H there. And then right at the bottom corner, I thought it was Owen Hart, but it might be Dustin Rhodes for that couple of months where he wasn't Goldust in 98. I can't quite see.
I can't either. But yeah, you got Mankind, you got Rock, you got Hunter, Austin, and Taker. Yeah, that's pretty much the Attitude Era right there. As far as like DX, it represents DX. Oh, this is your favorite one where you have to save Stephanie.
Yeah, I've got a theory that no one ever completed it. Like, even if they got to the end and you've got to say Stephanie, everyone just turned it off. Went, yeah, forget it. But yeah, 1. Not quite the cover star, even though he's quite close to the end, so we'll stick with 1.
What a terrible main event of WrestleMania 2000, right? We can't speak enough about that. Where they had McMahon in every corner for the 4-way match.
It's funny how much The Undertaker is in all the literature going forward for months in the 1999. I love the 99 version of The Undertaker. But man, he was gone for like 8 months. He just disappeared one day. And they never really bothered to explain it. 3, but it's not really, so it's still on 1. 4, and this is my theory, Royal Rumble on the Dreamcast, which, was this the first one, like, of the big 3D games where you could get 6 people in the ring, or was it more?
I think it was, 6 or somewhere around it. Go back to the No Mercy, because I'll tell you a little bit of a story. This is based off the Raven one with WCW Revenge. I was pretty close to getting somewhere on that cover as right to center Stevie Richards.
Were you really?
Oh, it would have been a bucket list moment. Would have been amazing. But that's a great game. That is a great game.
So someone at THQ was thinking about it.
Maybe the same person who liked Raven. Who knows? They just like the flock,
I think because Triple H is getting stunned here, so I think this is where the edict came in straight afterwards that he can't look weak on any game cover or any advertising at all.
But also I said he was actually biting Austin's ear a la Mike Tyson.
Yes.
It was actually an offensive maneuver.
Yeah. Do we say cover star for that? He's the only one in color with The Rock. I'd say that's fair enough too.
Do you think there's a little thing, because we talk about Triple H and The Rock and the whole WrestleMania kind of chaos that turned out actually very well for WrestleMania 40 at least. Do you think there's still something within him based on that memo that even when he's on the cover, even when he's in full color and not black and white, he's still somewhat behind The Rock?
Do you know he's slightly taller than The Rock? Which he isn't, because he's 5 foot, as we know.
At least according to our measurements, last time I checked. He's a big dude. They're both big dudes, so
Rock's
I don't
taller,
know.
though. Rock's like 2 inches taller, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he's that much taller than The Rock. He is there.
It took me ages, but he is actually there, top right, so that doesn't count. That one kind of counts. No, he's in the background still, but he's part of a conglomerate of people.
But he's getting chokeslammed by Glenn, too, right?
Yes.
Is that him?
Yeah, so he's the only 2-time cover star on that. Did you ever play Raw?
I did, and I'm in Raw, too. I like that a lot better. They ironed out most of the bugs. Some of them are still... It's very Warzone-ish in a way. That's the way it felt.
We were really surprised that Rob Van Dam was on the cover of a game. I seem to remember
Triple H looks like he has a stomach bug in that. He's like, no.
I think he's trying to force his way into the forefront.
Oh, he's trying to squeeze through the Game Boy Advance and Rob's right elbow?
Let's move on. Definite cover star, Shut Your Mouth. We're not going to say that because the women in Day of Reckoning seem to be the cover stars in this. And you never played Day of Reckoning, did you? Because I didn't. Even though I had the game.
But I hear that. There's people that swear by that every bit as much as like No Mercy and the N64 games. I've heard Day of Reckoning is a sleeper hit in the wrestling game genre. And the GameCubes are super expensive, so there you go.
Oh, I never talked of a GameCube game that I always wanted, but it keeps getting more expensive, so I've never bought it, is the remake of Metal Gear Solid 1. And it's only on the GameCube. And it's the only version, I think, where you can do it first person, like you can do in Metal Gear Solid 2. And
Oh,
I think it was,
wow.
I think it's like the Snake Eater version or something like that, but it was always expensive and only gets more expensive.
I'm gonna get that for my Steam Deck. They have the collection on sale. Metal Gear Solid. Hey, by the way, everybody's asking about a video game episode. Maybe we can update, do that, and then do the charity gaming stream all in the same week.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we could just like do a full review of the game on the main show and then figure out a stream.
Compare it to other ones, put it in the tier list once again, do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Absolutely.
cool.
Raw 2, which you said he's in the background there. Day of Reckoning 2 with Stacy Keibler in the forefronts. Definite Triple H. And this was the last one. Definite Triple H. I think I told you that it looks like a pair of worn-out ex-porn stars on the front there.
I mean, they couldn't get the ECW logo any smaller. I'm surprised it's not as small as the THQ logo with that.
Like featuring.
It's a good shot of Sean, though. I love that shot. I'm telling you, the photographers, the people that do all the production and type stuff, and we can appreciate that. Man, they take the photographers, the people that edit the photos, especially when it comes to packs and stuff. They're just, they're the best. Can you guys help me out, please? I don't want the Hunter's chest. I want a chest, and let's just start off with that.
Speaking of which, so I use that, I didn't forget about that one. That is all 4 of them, but we're in the way of one of them, one of our videos. But anyway, here's the Triple H one. So once again, they very much edited his chest. I'm going to make a note here for Chris to add B-roll at, and he will know what it is, 41:30 as our recording goes, because I want the original one put in as well, as comparison. But yeah, ultimately speaking, he was still a massive star in the Attitude Era. You can argue Mick Foley was a bigger star, which he was. You can argue a few, Shawn Michaels, if you're going to include him as well, I suppose. But he was still a massive star. I don't see any problem being the cover star at all. I question the year. I think you were right. If it was going to be 2K24, that would have been the perfect year, because what was that? Like, on that thing, I mean, he was there. I'm pointing at a screen that you can't see with my pen. But he was like one of like 20 people on the cover there. But he could have had his own solo deal that year. And everyone would have been quite supportive.
I think if they were had enough time and forethought to build a story mode around him taking over and what's going to happen, and some new game modes where he presents them and everything, I think it would have been, I think PR-wise, it would have been great, because you have the Triple H era, a brand new kind of look and style to the video game, and everything looks like the brand is going to change, and be completely different than the Vince era. I think it would have really worked out well.
Some people were saying that he wasn't that big of a deal in the Attitude Era, and I kind of don't think it's fair, but I did also make the point that he was the 5th most popular person in DX. Or 6th if you count Shawn Michaels as well. So I still think X-Pac was more popular, in a sense. It's just that Triple H had because they tried to make Billy Gunn a solo main event star, and it didn't work out, but Triple H had the credibility. It's just that I can't imagine he was many people's favourite.
No, but the Billy Gunn thing escapes me. We had a segment we missed last week. Maybe we'll pick it up this week or next week, talking about this guy, 62 years old, in incredible shape, still looks just amazing. But back then I watched and I thought Billy Gunn was going to be the standout one. I thought X-Pac was going to go win like you won the European title and be that kind of heel that you want to chase and beat up, and he kind of slips over and everything. But Hunter had, I guess, the WWE branded look for what Vince wanted, not as much as Billy, but then again, politics right there. You know what I mean? More politically favored. Not saying either guy was better than the other, but yeah, Triple H, I think it's cool now in 2026 to look back on his body of work. And sure, Cornette had said, Triple H is the guy who works with the guy that draws money. Well, 95% of the people that ever came into the business would love that spot. To always be the guy that wants to be with the guy that draws money, which guess what? Means you also draw money as well to an extent, and means you make that money on that level. Yeah, I think it's totally unfair, and it's coming from me. It's totally unfair to disregard the accomplishments, even in a fake subjective business. And I go back to the one time where you can, or 2 times, you can make fun of Hunter and do whatever, but this is a guy much like right up there with Cody with the torn pec and working the match with Seth Rollins. He blows out his quad and tells Jericho, right, put me in the walls of Jericho. That's what I understand, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Then during the 2002, I believe, when he was wrestling Goldberg, if you notice, I'm sorry?
2003.
2003. Sorry, CTE today. They got me. But he had biker shorts underneath his tights. He wasn't doing that because he saw Renee's measurements in the back with the seamstress. It was because he tore his groin and he worked. And guess what? His work didn't look like it suffered. Sure, aesthetically, he couldn't work out like he usually did, but he was there. You have to respect that kind of toughness from anybody there. Is it smart? Maybe not, but man, and I'm still convinced this dude's going to get back in the ring.
Oh, money talks. Okay, we're going to move on to the Royal Rumble itself now. We're going to talk about the Women's Royal Rumble. I've written copious notes, way too many to really get through, so I'm going to let you lead and just pick out a few things. Ultimately speaking, is it fair for me to say that every Women's Royal Rumble is kind of exactly the same? And it always seems like way more rehearsed. And I'm not just saying like the matches themselves. I'm saying the entrances. They've always got to do the pose and the entrance that they've been drilled into them from day one. And then the, head to the ring kind of thing. But I mean, every Royal Rumble's about the same these days in the sense of you go in, you shine for half a minute, then you either get cut off or you continue a bit. Then it's the next person and ad nauseum repeat. I mean, there's very little variation. And I think there's only a couple of things in there that I made notes of that were like interesting in one way or another. Am I being too harsh there?
No, because I said it too, that like when they come through, you're supposed to kind of run to the ring and, basically everybody gets in the ring is blowing a comeback. Think about that. Everybody's bumping and feeding, they're blowing a comeback. But yeah, when the girls were coming out and they had their full gear on, did their entrance, did everything, and then ends up now I'm going to get serious and run to the ring. Little bit of a disconnect, but I get what they're trying to do. You see the entrance. It's always for some kind of future package to do that. Cody did it with his jacket, fireworks. So it's not just the girls. But when they got in there, I don't know how you fix this trope. This is a trope of the Royal Rumble, right? Somebody, you hear the 5, 10, 9, the countdown to the buzzer, and everybody stays in the corners. And then there's just a couple people that are feeding, or maybe even one, and they run spots, which is exciting. But then how many decades are we into the model, into the trope, where now you're starting to see, okay, well, this is a little bit, I think the girls were missing what the guys had with the Final Four and stuff although the girls had a very unique, exciting finish, like right at the end. I can't say I hated that, but I can say they were on the apron so much throughout the whole thing that finish didn't stand out as much as it should. But it was really well done.
Do you want to talk about it kind of in order? Because once again, I've not got like everyone in order. We're not going to talk about everyone coming out. The one thing I did think was, is that Charlotte? Do you know what I mean? Because I just thought, with the full body thing, then she had her hair completely different. I didn't recognize her at first. I don't think
everybody had
the sound
kind of like the new Natty Neidhart braids and stuff like that. Why don't we do this?
Brock Lesnar did. Brock Lesnar had them as well. He had cornrows in.
Your hairdresser only knows like 3 different hairstyles. That's what I say. But I would start out with this and maybe end with this, the positive of it all. The positive is they did on both Rumbles, they were trying to showcase and elevate talents from NXT. And think about it, like Saturday night's main event. What did I say? You had the big fight with Gunther and Cena. It afforded you a little bit of latitude to bring up Javon Evans and Leon Slater for the tag match. You had different people that you didn't see before that you got to see for the first time because you were there for Cena and Gunther. Sol Ruca was there as well. And speaking of her,
she loads of popular. She was really popular.
She did amazing for where she was at. I thought she was going to win it for a half a second. I didn't think I wasn't totally convinced, but I was like, this is going to be pretty cool. But then with Liv in there, I was like, okay, well, they're going to definitely do that. Sol Ruca, guess who else shined in this that you never seen anything from? Kiana James, big purse with the glasses. she's really, really athletic. And she was there with timing that looked really good. Hung in there with Charlotte, and was she in there with Rhea as well for a time? I don't know.
Mhm.
But she did some stuff with Charlotte and other ones and Alexa where she looked really, really good. Those are the two people. Lash Legend had some moments in there that were really, really cool. It gave promise that there was going to be a pipeline, much like we said, with all these guys retiring. On the female side, it looks like they got a good pipeline of female talent for the future.
We're going to get to Lash Legend in a bit, because I get that the logic was kind of a bit skew with, I suppose, but I really like the Io Sky elimination. That was the best elimination, I thought. All right, we have to go kind of in order, and I might throw you in the... I might be throwing you under the bus slightly here, but we were texting back and forth watching it, and you went, geez, when you get to Lola Vice's kicks.
Oh, they were terrible.
Dude, they're Mike Bailey kicks. That's exactly what Mike Bailey does.
They're Fire Pro Wrestling kicks. You know what it was? If I had you there and we were together, I would be like, let's do the Lola Vice kick. And we would have did the kid in play, locked our legs together and hopped around. Because they were terrible. That was the worst part of the show by far, was those kicks.
You know, both me and my brother know all the words to Kid and Play, the house party song.
Really?
Yeah.
I know none of them.
Just PLAY, just here to say, asking you, may I tell you about the day I'm not going to continue. Right, I've got to mention this as well as part, because you were doing the ups and downs. Maxine Dupree, apart from the fact that she's got the silliest run, didn't even get into the ring smoothly. And I know we keep bagging on Maxine Dupree, but I mean, like, she's like super athletic in certain things, and then she isn't in running. But there's one bit that was like, that was a shocker, was that the camera was focused on Maxine Dupree. You know, the countdown's going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Becky Lynch was coming out right next. I think it was Becky Lynch that came out. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Natty that came out. My apologies.
Yeah.
But Maxine started reacting when there was still 2 seconds on the clock and it hadn't been announced who was coming out. So the camera's focused on her face, and then she was going, and then it went, bzzz, and then Natty's music came out, and then she started playing. It's like, dude, just react. Acting is reacting.
Well, I'm going to tell you what's wrong with that. And actually, when you're talking about when the buzzer's about to go off, there's 2 mistakes that they made. Well, Maxine made a mistake, but there's one big mistake that happened. And it only comes with experience, and I can't believe a rehearsal, which Royal Rumble is the most rehearsed match in history. Everybody, even Battle Royals in WWE. She reacted like a heel. Like she was scared of Natty and she didn't want to get at her. So I would have ran out and met her in the aisleway. That's what I would have, as a producer, I would have said, even if Maxine jumped over the top because she was so mad and she laid her out in the aisleway. Do you see what I'm saying? She acted like, oh my God, like she's acting like she screwed Natty over and Natty is coming for revenge. And the other thing, there was a major thing that happened in the Girls' Rumble. When the buzzer was going off or about to go off with the last 5 seconds, there was people running spots and you didn't even see what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Becky Lynch. There's one thing I like that Becky Lynch did. Didn't she eliminate? She eliminated Maxine Dupree like easily, which is kind of weird. But when she got eliminated soon afterwards, Becky Lynch was on her back and turtling and telling the referees, I've not been eliminated, my feet haven't touched yet, when they obviously have. And I kind of like that complete liar's heel thing. You know, like when I mentioned this recently, when Tony Atlas was bald and he told the ref that the other guy was pulling his hair. I like that complete nonsense.
Yeah. I mean, there's moments in this. I think, like, honestly, like with the amount of talent that you could, especially flying over to Saudi Arabia, some people did look tired. And I understand that even if you got there a few days sooner. The girls that were coming up from NXT were the ones that were truly being tested the most. And for that, if you're looking at the Rumble, especially the women's and part of the men's, every single girl that you would figure might be crushed under the spotlight, especially in a foreign country and the culture shock, they did great. They did great. They almost made the girls that were the major like stars for the past few years look like they were kind of phoning it in, because these girls look like they were trying to make a name for themselves.
I'm going to mention a few people coming in. I noted that Zelina Vega, and she's on TV every week and has been for ages. Silence. absolute silence when she came in, and I don't get it. Why I don't get it. Chelsea at number 18, one of our favourites, Chelsea Green, really good reaction. The ref had to undress her, despite Alba Fire being there, and she was the creative one. Alba Fire was helping her not be eliminated a couple of times, and she's always, the comedy relief in a sense. But once again, Michael Hayes doesn't think she deserves a push, I guess, to that point. Let me have a look. I did notice that all the images of the women, the scrolling text thing, which I hate that counter, by the way. I don't know if do you like it? You probably do. You wanted that for our show.
You talking about the eliminated and active
yeah.
and all that stuff? Yeah, I've been trying to get the PTI from ESPN stuff. You keep saying no. Maybe I'm responsible. Well, if people didn't watch the show, they would think I'm responsible for the Taker, but there's no way possible if you watch 5 seconds of this show.
Rhea Ripley's in at 22. Jeez, people went nuts for her. It's amazing how popular she is.
I don't think it's amazing. I think it's amazing with the way
it
she's
translates
been
in
down.
Saudi Arabia as well, is what I'm saying.
But she's been cooled down so much. Like, imagine if it was just 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Or not even that long. By the way, it doesn't have to be a what went wrong segment, but come on. We don't need to be power bombed on the apron as an elimination. We don't need that. The spot itself setting up and with Liv eliminating Raquel, yeah, that kind of like really bang type of elimination when she's distracted, but it's a Hana bomb, not a power bomb. But man, you can't take that any other way but just taking it right on the edge.
Nikki Bella gets, I'd say, a surprisingly big ovation, but I guess, they really favour, the older stars there as well. I think by this time I was getting a bit sick of it because it was... Here's the other thing. We'll get to Brie in a second, who got a huge reaction as well. Huge reaction, as much as Rhea, pretty much. But there was just, at this point, for me, you tell me if I'm wrong, there weren't enough eliminations to keep it interesting. They had like 14, 15 women in the ring at one point, which I think you kind of like to keep it fresh. You've got to keep having eliminations.
Yeah, and also from a safety aspect, if you have green workers in there, you want the ring as cleared as possible. Because I saw probably 6 or 7 times girls almost bumping on other girls' ankles, back of their knee. Everything was way too crowded in there, even in the 20 by 20 ring. You get 15 people in there, and everybody's trying to do spots. So you got to figure out, there's got to be something that's got to be updated with the format of the Royal Rumble. I said before, you want to create an extra bit of excitement, you make each Rumble for the title. Because you still have Elimination Chamber to kind of re-correct course. But I think the only stake you can add to that to make it like, oh, the champion's in it, and the champion has to defend the title against 29 other people. It's a pretty interesting wrinkle in it.
Brie Bella turns up. She was rumoured, it said on the board at WWE Unreal that she they were planning to bring her back at SummerSlam, I believe.
Is she full-time again?
I don't know. I don't know if Nikki's full-time, really. But anyway, she came back, absolutely. Crowd loved it. Started doing the kicks. The entire crowd started chanting yes. Michael Cole, on commentary, says that she's now calling these the it kicks when everybody's chanting yes. Maybe he was thinking about Intuit TurboTax, which I kept seeing all around the ringside as well. And then Michael Cole sort of gave up and went, well, you know what they are.
Yeah, but the it kicks are The Miz doing them.
Yeah. So
he just kind of gave up. Yeah, well, it's...
Yeah.
What did you expect? Don't have her do the kicks then.
Tiffany returns at number 30. Pretty much, this is, by the time Tiffany's there, I think there's 14 women in the ring at this point. Lash Legend. Okay, this is something that I know she's a heel. You tell me if I'm being too nitpicky, which we always love here. There were far too many people. Lash Legend was probably the most egregious one of it. It's like when they eliminated someone, she then had her back to the ring for like 10, 15 seconds posing. Is that something that you kind of forgive in the Royal Rumble, or does that still bug you?
The only way I would forgive it is if she eventually got eliminated for doing it too many times. I would say this too. The other thing is, and we'll talk about it in the men's, because there's one guy that does it better than anybody without doing the pandering type thing. When you come in and you blow your comeback, it's not about like firing up and let me back up. You come in, you shine on everybody, you do your comeback, and then everybody takes the middle of the ring, and Maxine Dupree screams, drops the thing. This person screams, they fire up, but then don't follow it up by trying to eliminate people. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's almost like you just bumped everybody in a comeback, and just that trope of wrestling, I got to fire up and scream, and that's it. That to me, that like there's one person, we'll get to it, that you get excited and just with a look, you already know who it is, that just with a look or a shrug of the shoulders or anything will get the people because he knows what he does in his 5 moves of doom and he saves the intensity for right before the finish.
I want to mention once again the Lash Legend eliminating Io Sky. I thought it was the most interesting because she just gives her like a proper axe kick to the face and she's gone, which it was Io Sky, wasn't it? I think it was.
I believe so.
Soul Rook, we're getting to the end bits now. Soul Rook hits a double soul snatcher. Then they do the 3-woman Shawn Michaels dangle spot. I can't remember where it happens. I've just written it right at the bottom, is because obviously Liv wins. Spoiler. But just before that, Tiffany lands a moonsault on Liv, and then she just gets right up. Do you think that Liv was supposed to move?
I don't know, but it looked like it caught her in the face. Did you see that?
I didn't notice it.
It's 2 girls, I think. She had both girls there, and the one girl moved. She did like a rolling senton or something where they both landed next to each other. Am I wrong with that?
Yeah. They were not quite stacked up, but yeah, do you think Liv was meant to move?
Yeah, because the one girl did move.
Yeah.
She caught her pretty good. I mean, she seemed to be okay afterwards, but it looked like it was a little bit high. And if she's expecting her to move, she's pancaking the mat. So maybe she pulled up right before, because like she didn't land flat on her face or chest. It looked like she kind of rolled through and stood up there. But that's not really egregious because guess what? Imagine if she did hit the moonsault and hooked the leg and tried to pin her. You're an idiot. It's the Royal Rumble. So I think that was good within the element of that. How many times have people tried to pin people and they're like, hey, pal, no pinfalls.
That's how Yokozuna won in 93. Savage hit the elbow, then tried to pin, and then Yoko threw him over the top rope.
I remember that. He was supposed to be in this Rumble. I heard the Saudis wanted him. Both of them.
What's he called? Hiroki Sumi. I can't remember his name in 2018. Anyway, do you want to talk about the last seconds where they're all out on the apron? So did you say at the beginning they were on the apron too long for you?
No, too many times during the Rumble to make this special. I know you have that, but it felt like every single person that came in, somebody was dangling on the apron or going over the top and doing whatever. No, but this was really, really well done. And I really liked I thought Sol Ruka was going to win. It was kind of, whatever she did was kind of dumb and threw herself to the floor. Did you feel that way?
Mm-hmm.
But man, Liv hitting the one where she usually jumps into the ropes and pulls back and you take a bump, but the person goes to the floor, that was really creative. So if Liv came up with it or a producer or everybody, that was a good finish.
We're not doing ratings, are we?
No, that's for somebody else.
Yeah, all right then. Okay,
that's for your buddy. There's a new video on the James Romero channel. Check it out.
Yeah, I know. And Steve went, it's doing really well. And I looked at it, yes, it's performing the 9th best out of the last 10. Hey, so at least the bar's raised. It's not doing too bad. We'll stop there then because we're just over 2 hours. Okay, next up is Gunther versus AJ Styles, the career-threatening match that AJ Styles kind of really easily got goaded into. Stevie, I must say that. It seemed kind of completely unnecessary for him to say, I'll put my career on the line. All right. And then he did.
Yeah, that's about what we have. I mean, it's definitely, he didn't want the months and months and months of the John Cena retirement tour. He definitely went the opposite direction with that.
Well, do you know what? I think, when you're done, I guess. And I'll tell you, and I'll give the crowd this. I know on your feed you couldn't really hear the crowd that much. Like, they were screaming all the way through. They were jumping up and down, dancing, cheering AJ the entire way. Is it fair to say the best match of the night in your estimation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have your standard Rumble format, which you can enjoy. It can be exciting, but this is definitely the best match of the night and one of the best matches you've seen probably in a while, the way it was done. You talk about the build to do it, wrestling, very rough. I mean, you're talking about this is a strong style right here. They were laying into each other, and especially Gunther on AJ. But I love the fact, skipping to the finish, but when he was trying to put him to sleep, and AJ just, I've never seen anybody when the legs are hooked start elbowing the knee and the thigh to kind of loosen the hold. Did you ever notice when people, once they hook the legs, people would just kind of give up? So AJ was showing all these different little wrinkles of how to fight, struggle, get out of, fight back. Even when he listened to the crowd, that they went down to their most quiet when Gunther was laying the chops in on him. And then he started to come back with the forearms. Even on my feed, I could tell the crowd was hot for this match, especially the tail end of it.
Before the match starts, I wanted to ask you this. Gunther just goes up to the referee and says something. Presuming that the ring is in good shape, and it's a WWE ring, it's going to be, tip-top. You're not going to have to ask for loose planks or, ropes that are about to snap or anything. What might you say to the referee just before a match?
If there's something that is going to change in the beginning, like say before AJ came out, right? Gunther came out first and AJ, Gunther might have told the referee, hey, have AJ start with this, or let's do this. Usually if you're reading the crowd and it's not supposed to be a jump start, you would usually say, tell him to go to double leg me. Like I did that with PJ Hawks. They switched our entrances in that match that we had. And I was like, oh, wow, what am I going to do? Told the referee when I came in, or when he was going around the ring, tell him to double leg me and just start working on me. That's kind of where that is right there. I don't know if for all I know, Gunther was joking around or tried to say something funny to keep it loose. It didn't seem like anything he said changed the trajectory of the match in the beginning. It seemed like it was pretty much just that feeling out process in the beginning.
AJ, I mean, it was kind of obvious he was definitely going to retire after this. He was going to lose because not only did Shinsuke Nakamura say that he was ready to retire at the Royal Rumble 2026, AJ also recently applied for trademarks for the P1 logo and some other stuff relating to wrestling news and potentially podcasts as well. So, that was all filed like a couple of days before, his retirement match. So it kind of made it obvious he wasn't going any, he was definitely going somewhere, and that was back home. Once again, fans really up for it from the off. And this is the first match in a long time where they've just done basic wrestling stuff well. And it was just so, like nothing flashy, just headlock takeovers and just the basics. And it's like, man, why can so few wrestlers do this to make it entertaining?
You know what spot I could probably talk about for maybe 15, 20 minutes? When AJ was lighting or going back on Gunther in the beginning of the match in the corner. I think they were exchanging chops and do whatever. Gunther, instead of trying to chop back, realizing he's starting to like work me over and I'm getting a little weaker, grabbed the headlock, dragging him out to the center. I don't know why that just stuck out to me. Like if you're getting hit by somebody, your best thing to do is close the distance and get a hold of them. It just felt like one of the most real type reactions that you would do in that kind of fight.
Yeah, it happens in every boxing match. You're getting tuned up. You bulldoze into them and clinch, yeah.
Yeah.
And then very occasionally your wig gets punched off. Please tell me you saw that video.
Wig gets punched off?
Dude, the two guys boxing and one of them punches the other so hard, his entire wig just flips up and turns up. How have you not seen it?
I have not seen that.
I'll send it you.
Well, I'm sending you things of sharks going to Waffle House at 3 a.m., shark dolls and stuffed animals and these little stop animation things. That's more my category.
Yeah, no, I'm just sending, people's wigs getting beaten off and stuff. Okay, then. We've got to talk about the gash on the arm. So I thought it was like I wasn't paying too much attention. I thought it was on the announcer's table. You said it was in the post.
I believe it was because he got thrown into the post, left shoulder, and right here, he didn't take it wrapping it around like bear hugging the post. AJ took it pretty much, I think his forearm was in front, and he kind of shoulder blocked the post. And I just remember after he took it and laid out, he started doing this for a half a second. Did you notice that? Like he looked at his forearm, and I don't know, it might have been the edge of the table, but hey, by the way, when I saw Gunther do that, I was like, Dude, are you trying to set something up with Randy Orton or something? He did the belly to back onto the announce table, which was kind of strange. Unless because Randy was in the Rumble, he was obviously not going to do that to somebody.
Something I really want to point out, just like the basic stuff, and I think I've told this you, and I said, I bet you've done this, and yeah, I did it all the time, was when someone's in a submission, and instead of, diving straight for the rope so it isn't fully locked in, you have to do that thing where you're like, oh, will I tap, will I not, and, drag it out for ages. Whereas Gunther, as soon as he was in the calf crusher, he leapt for them ropes before it was locked in. I loved that. I was always of the, I'm the age, really, that when I started watching, like when Brett put the sharpshooter in, you tapped that instant the second he locked it in.
When he sat down within it, it's over. Yeah, I agree. That's, if you're literally in a hold or in something that's uncomfortable, the first thing you're doing, you stiffen up and you're just trying to grab anything you can to get out of there. And when Gunther did that, or trying to make sure AJ had a little bit too much leverage on him in the beginning, where I would have went right to a push-up position and then took it in stages where AJ is trying to flatten me out. Because once you're flattened out, it's the same thing as a sharpshooter. You're not going anywhere with a dude weighing 235, literally sitting on your butt. A lot of people said really sitting on your butt and wrenching back on that sharpshooter.
AJ lands a powerbomb on Gunther.
He's strong enough to do it.
I know, but he's like, I'm not saying he's not. He's a 5'8" guy, though, hitting a powerbomb on a 6'4" guy. And
the only thing I would say is Gunther needs to really sit up on that and clear it, because that's the dangerous part about that. It's his last match. We have to go into emptying the tank of everything. And I'm not so against that. I see what you're saying. I would love to see Gunther try to do the Styles Clash to AJ. Tease that. That would have been, give him a little bop kick, the Barney Rubble on the forehead.
I want to pay tribute at this point to the camera work in the last minute, because they did a great job when, AJ's in the sleeper and, he's making comebacks and then not, excuse me. But the camera stayed quite focused on, just the one just outside the ring. But it kept zooming into, when he was about to move. And then when he started reaching for the ropes, it came out again and then showed the ropes. Had that great depth of field kind of thing. And I thought it was a really good touch from a production standpoint for that. I don't know if that stood out to you.
It did. There's a lot of different stuff. They must have somebody that they haven't gotten a memo yet, and they're kind of like being creative and trying to do different stuff. A lot like when Triple H took over, we've seen a lot of different kinds of camera shots, not the quick cuts and things like that, more organic. I would say this about the sleeper. I would have liked it, and this is splitting hairs. This is just Monday morning quarterback, literally, saying that when AJ, I would have loved to see him keep his hand in there for the first couple and and then there were so many more stages that they could have went him fresher. They were perfect as he was worn down. I would have loved to see more of a, like, I don't know, it's over the top. I kind of like it now that I think about it. It's too pro wrestling when you're like, trying to fight back. AJ was just trying to conserve his energy to get out of it and then figure it out from there.
Yeah, the one thing with the sleeper that really annoys me with wrestling is that if you're doing it in MMA and someone's getting a sleeper on you, the one thing is you try and turn your head in a way where it releases the pressure slightly. But the other one is they're always fighting the arms. So they'll fight the second arm, if it's nearly cinched in kind of thing first, peel it down, try and roll through that kind of thing.
Or just get the hand in there to block the choke on your throat.
But that's sort of the second stage, though. So you fight the second arm that, wraps around and then goes around the head. But then if you can stuff that arm, then you work on the arm, two hands on their glove, their wrist, try and peel it off that way. That's kind of how the process should go. No one does that in wrestling, which is something that people should be told how to do to get out of the sleeper.
I absolutely agree with you. I would have loved to have seen AJ as they were struggling, like Gunther not getting on him at first, like the full on. I would like to see him try to do it, and AJ's turning into him, belly to back, so he tries to do it again. AJ, once you turn the head towards there to keep it from getting right under here, just anything he can do, even like literally turning in towards him, Gunther front face lock, the AJ double leg figure four or something. You know what I mean? Just to kind of mix it up. They could have went, dude. This is the only bad part about this match. They did a lot of stuff, but everything we're describing could be put in a rematch and make sense. They had a string of matches ahead of them. That's the only bad part about this.
The only thing that wouldn't work in a pro wrestling aspect to defend on a sleeper is tucking your chin, so they can't get straight under. I don't think that translate well on in
no,
pro
the
wrestling
hand
sense.
would more.
Yeah.
The hand would. Now, if you're talking about that, I think the pro wrestling, you reverse it. You might do this, but when you do this and you cup the tricep, you do anything to grab the arm, your arm dragging him over. Getting this down to create the separation, you can do that shoulder throw into an arm drag. And I would have loved to seen that. And then the second time, Gunther holds on and AJ's back is on his chest. Then there's trouble. You know what I mean?
Well, logically, you would peel off from the wrist because, if
It's
you just do from the
talking
tricep,
about-
yeah.
all right, logically, this is pro wrestling.
No, I know. Also, logically speaking, AJ passed out. He didn't tap. So the grand total of people, major baby faces who have tapped, is the man who never gives up, John Cena. And that's it.
Do you think this was an overcorrection from the Cena finish?
I don't know. I think they let Cena do what he wanted, and they shouldn't have done. I think he just said, "No, you pass out." To be honest,
Excellent.
I think the pass out should have been saved for him only, and everyone else tap out, including AJ and Jey Uso.
That's a good point. It still doesn't take away from the match. I mean, you might think by the way, Cena was riding away. 3 weeks later, most people forgot about him. Gunther has heat, but that Saturday night's main event, there's been a Saturday night's main event since that Saturday night's main event. So we've seen a lot of shows since then.
AJ then immediately got "Thank You AJ" merchandise dropping as well, like within seconds, and it all one of them looked like designed like it was like an Affliction t-shirt from 2009. AJ didn't put his gloves in the ring; he teased it, and then he kept them on and did the pose and everything. And from my eye, I was thinking, is he retiring? Has he decided to go back in his word? Maybe he's going to be on Raw tonight as we record this.
I got that too. That you left it in the ring, much like Taker did with the boots and the hat. And then he puts
didn't
the
retire
gloves
either.
back on. That's what I'm saying. Much like Taker. And that was very strange, wasn't it?
Do you think that was like a last second thing? That
It felt very much like an audible in a way. He was probably like, these gloves are expensive, man. I'm going to pick them back up.
Right, we're going to, there were adverts, then there was backstage stuff with some of the Mexican guys preparing. Rey Mysterio was back as well, which is good. So apparently he wasn't injured. It was just more precautionary to get him out of stuff. I like how Rey was like, we're going to be joining the likes of other Royal Rumble winning legends and Big John Studd, who also won the Royal Rumble. And everyone kind of just shrugged at that one, I guess. Even at the time, I think.
I wonder where that came from.
I think it was because he was kind of retiring and it was like just a nice thing for him to do. But why Big John Studd?
No. I mean, why would they get that dig in?
No, that's me.
Oh, I thought oh my goodness, you're so mean.
I know. All right, Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. This was a weird match. Take it away.
That's about it. It was a weird match. You don't want to be the first person. We did think for a second that Sami was going to beat Drew. And the way they designed this, I was like, Sami Zayn might go over. This might be Turkey liking this finish with putting Sami Zayn in as champion. I thought it was very much going to be a Saudi-booked finish, but thank God Drew is still the champion. No offense against Sami, but man, you got to give this guy time to cook as a heel champion. And he came back later in the Rumble. Spoiler, once again, if you haven't watched yet, Drew got more heat by not being in the Rumble after his title defense. He was definitely, I feel like Drew, outside of the AJ match with obviously the best match, Drew's the MVP of this company right now, maybe the MVP of wrestling. He's definitely somebody we watch way too much wrestling. We do it for work. When I watch Drew, it's actually a time to enjoy it.
They kind of just wedged Sami in there, and we're not going to go through all of the match, but pretty much all that happens is Sami gets 5 or 10% of the match, and Drew dominates and then wins cleanly. It was Were you just sat there waiting for the comeback, or at least a more prolonged comeback? Because I think like Sami gets like one kick in, and then Drew just comes back with a Claymore and wins.
Yeah, I thought that I that's why I thought Sami was going to go over because
Samu,
Drew had like 90% of the match.
Sami.
And no, I thought Sami was going to go over.
I thought he said Samu.
Well, they wanted Samu for the Rumble, but yeah. No, it's Sami. That's Philly accent, by the way, everybody
Right.
who's tuning in for the first time. So I thought usually, and probably you thought too, man, they're giving Drew all the offense. He's got to be putting Sami over out of nowhere. And it almost looked like a couple times, even with the crucifix pin was kind of close. I was like, oh, is it going to be that? Or is it going to be him hitting the kick out of that? But Drew just, and I give credit to Sami Zayn, every bit as much as like when I used to take the boot from Test, he ate that Claymore in the middle of the ring. He didn't turn his face. He just straight on.
The there's a couple of things I want to mention here and get your opinion on one of them. One, Sami Zayn, apart from the fact I think he's got the best theme music in the company, he covered up his Fred Perry logo on his jacket, but his sleeves had 20 Fred Perry logos going up each arm. And I was like, that's so random to do it. Also, our hometown hero, Fred Perry, here in Stockport, of course. The other thing is, Sami clothesline Drew over the ropes, right? And I want you to tell me what's going on here. I can make my guesses, of course. Is he clothesline, let's say, with the right, but to make sure he went over, he sort of put his left arm on his chest and then like eased him right over really nicely. Is that something kind of like a common way or a way that used to be taught to clothesline people over the ropes? Is kind of do it two-handed, like, you know what I mean, like that?
Yeah, there's times where you want to do that, and it's more of a push than a clothesline. You're pushing him over the top. It might have been Drew's request. Hey, man, I don't go over, too great with that. Can you just give me a little bit of a shove too, or a little bit of help? And Sami was pushing the shoulder to make sure he went over. It was just kind of a mild assist.
Mm.
Nothing wrong with that, but also it kind of makes sense from a psychological standpoint too, because look at how much smaller Sami is than Drew. It's almost putting both your hands to just get him out of the ring. So Sami might have did that all on his own too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think pretty much aside from an exploder, that's what it was. It wasn't a haluva kick. Drew Claymore's wins dominant. Uh, was it entertaining for you? It just seemed like a segment more than anything else.
Well, haven't I said before, you don't want to be the first person to challenge a world champion after they win the world title?
Yeah.
You're not going to, and there we are. Yeah, he got hit that exploder in the corner, then went for the kick, and that's when he got the Claymore, which was kind of, if you think about it, it was kind of one-sided in the match, and it kind of ended a little bit flat, but it's the first defense. I guess they're just, it's one of those matches. You needed a predictable finish, but I think, I don't know, and he gave him, what, three DDTs earlier, too. That's what made me believe Sami's going over. He was just unloading everything on him.
Let's get to the men's Rumble then. Straight away, what did you make of it just as a whole?
Well, I thought the format was paced out a lot better than the girls' matches in certain parts, especially the final four. That should have been the standard. I love that. For some reason, it built up anticipation. Going back to the beginning, you couldn't have really put the NXT people in a better spot to be featured. Obafemi looked great, but of course, once he went down, he blended in. So how much more could you have done with him after that? On the other hand, you're going to ask me about Powerhouse Hobbs.
Well, we'll get to that. We will get to
that.
Powerhouse Hobbs,
Yeah, we have to,
you.
because I agree with you. I just think, and this is where I get to the part where I talk about the person I talked about earlier. Randy Orton can fire up without even moving his body. He can make you elicit a reaction and take it in stages where he's not running around just trying to get his stuff in, but he's getting his stuff in at the same time. Nobody does it better in that company than, that's why I wanted Orton in a weird way to win and have Orton versus Drew. It would have been amazing.
I thought he was going to win. He was so good. And then when it got to the final four, I thought, Orton's going to take it. And then I understand why Roman Reigns had to win, but I was kind of like, Man, we're stuck from 10 years ago here. This is the exact same. I know we won the Rumble 10 years ago, but it just seems like a lot of the same people.
Well, you could say the same thing about Orton.
Yeah.
And then you have Gunther. But I have to say, to have the final four with, it was Logan Paul, right, as the fourth guy.
Yeah.
You had Orton, you had Roman, and you had Gunther. We've really had a spot where, man, any one of these four guys could win, and it's not like a disappointment. There's going to be some momentum based on their win. It just felt like they went with the good old reliable. Well, Roman Reigns is obviously going to be, and we're going to have the Jacob Fatu, Jey Uso side quest during this time and everything like that. And by the way, Elimination Chamber, it can still change. Think about that. Remember they said one final time to, what was it, punch your ticket to WrestleMania. There's something going on with Elimination Chamber that it could be somebody else. It could be Gunther. It could be Orton. It could be anybody. Could be Jericho if he's coming back.
Well, he didn't come back in the Rumble. A lot of people were chanting throughout, waiting for him. I thought he'd be out at 30. He wasn't.
He got my spot. He got 31.
It's such a shame that the Royal Rumble was so full that they couldn't fit Finn Balor in.
Hey, but everybody thought it was going to be a swerve and Finn was going to be in there because Ray got hurt, but look at where we're at.
Well, let's go from the beginning then. Obafemi number 1, Braun Breaker number 2. Braun Breaker eliminated. He was the guy I bet on as well. I was really annoyed about that. But yeah, he was eliminated like immediately, which is very disappointed by the Black Scorpion.
The Black Scorpion, my favorite. This up-and-comer who is probably Adam Pearce, is my guess. Is that yours?
No, because if it's the Black Scorpion, so someone zoomed in, he's got the little mouth cut out thing, he had a blonde wispy beard, a lot of people were thinking it was Logan Paul.
Not bad. Just, I know Logan Paul's movements to some extent, and this guy, unless he was trying so much, like when Flair came out as the Black Scorpion from the spaceship, just trying not to do any of the movements, then Flair goes like this and turns with the rope. Lands it all right on the ramp. I thought it was, Adam Pearce would be an interesting one. That would actually make pretty good sense. Now, I'm not saying he was, if it ends up being Pearce, that would be pretty interesting with a Pearce Braun Breaker WrestleMania match.
I think eventually we're going to have like Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis go at it at WrestleMania at one point. You know, almost like how they did with like Eric Bischoff and like Teddy Long, but better. Hopefully better.
I thought that Nick Aldis should have his WrestleMania moment against Orton that year because he RKO'd him a few times, even right before that. That would have been pretty good. And he deserves it. I mean, Pearce should be in it too. We'll figure it out. But the only storyline that makes sense is that. And are you going to turn Logan Paul babyface with this whole thing with CoffeeZilla and everything else? No.
CoffeeZilla. Learn it, everybody, next time he's out. Michael Cole's like, who is this masked man who has done this curb stomp as Paul Heyman is screaming, that's Seth Rollins? And they never mention his name on commentary. Why did they do that? Like with El Grande Americano, they did that with El Grande Americano and the other El Grande Americano, whilst referencing Wikipedia in the same sentence.
What's the Black Scorpion? No, I can't think of another thing with Scorpion. What's the Black Scorpion doing in the Saudi Arabian zone?
Why didn't they give him a name? It's like, oh, he's doing Seth Rollins' move. Like, why are they not filling in the blanks?
Who knows?
All right, then. Rusev's not been seen in months.
And here he is.
And there he goes.
It's got to be somewhat of a rib because to me, as a talent, unless the money was Saudi Arabia money, which I don't know if it is or isn't, they tell you, hey, we got you coming back doing something. You got to fly all the way to Saudi Arabia for a battle royal, and you're just going to be in the mix, doing whatever, get eliminated, not mean anything, and then you got to wait to go back home and take the same flight. Be like, can you guys just find me?
Matt Cardona was in the Royal Rumble, briefly.
That's what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? Like, hey, this Royal Rumble was really full of people, but we couldn't get Finn Balor and Chris Jericho into it.
Damian Priest enters too. I've got to say, quietness. What have they done with Damian Priest? Like a couple of years ago, he seemed like he was one of the big things up and coming in Judgment Day, and now he's just a mid card guy. Sometimes there, sometimes not on SmackDown.
It's an absolute sin. Absolute. Like, this is a guy, every time you gave him the ball, whether it was tagging up with Bad Bunny, working against Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico, doing this stuff with the, with the Judgment Day and everything else, tagging up with Rhea, all these different things. He's performed, but each time he performs, he gets put in a less. When he was doing the thing with Aleister Black, I already knew they've cooled him off to no end. And now we haven't seen Aleister Black. I mean, the Rumble's full, but I'm just saying, where's that guy? Those were the two that were supposed to replace Cross and Scarlett, and then you took them off TV.
Javon Evans, number 9. Hang on,
Can I
everyone's
stop
number
there?
9. Yes.
Javon Evans showed how green he was in this. He showed how off he was, how nervous. He looked like he was in over his head in the deep water. He needs to learn how to throw a punch. His punches looked awful. Even his spots with jumping around, he had Hot Wheels feet the entire time. He definitely was exposed for how green he was. And I like the kid, and I want him to do well. But man, there's certain times you got to protect the talent from themselves, because he kind of got really exposed the longer he was in there. Did you feel that way?
The one thing I wrote is lands the fakest looking kick, but accompanied with leg slap. That's the only thing I wrote about it. It's like, oh no.
He was the one guy in these matches, how the girls and the guys Royal Rumble, he looked nervous. Like, I could see it in his body, in his face, that he looked like he was just trying to remember what's next.
Well, what was next? I said number 9. I think I was wrong there. It was, oh, damn it. I'm just looking at the full list now. Yeah, sorry. Javon Evans was number 8. Mr. Iguana was number 9. Just before we get to Mr. Iguana, who's a load of fun, if you know what you're getting into, which the Saudi Arabian fans did not. Wade Barrett, this will mean nothing to you, Stevie, drops a 30-year-old Brian Connolly reference saying, it's a puppet. I know you'll never understand what I'm talking about, but Brian Connolly in the 90s was a big star over here on Saturday evening TV. So between that and Dangerous Brian and Septic Peg references that we didn't get, but I'm sure they'll be coming with Wade Barrett's only a few years older than me. He's got all the same references as me, pretty much. I was very pleased to hear it. But Mr. Iguana, we didn't have room for Finn Balor, but we did have room for Mr. Iguana, and the fans sat there open-mouthed at this dude with an iguana-like pet teddy thing on him and a green face. And I tell you what, I think to a point he did win over the crowd because he was being so silly.
Yeah, you need a little bit of comedy in that, and he definitely provided that. But to choke slam, I in theory, but for Damian Priest, who we just spoke about, to be where he was, and now he's choke slamming an iguana puppet. I would do it too. Trust me. I would pop the boys. But that was like a jump the iguana moment for Damian Priest.
Yeah, that's the exact same thing. Do you know, I made mention of this at this point. We can get back to iguana. Do you know what? It's so hard to do facial expressions when your face completely painted. But he's so exaggerated when he tries to do whatever he's going to do and it doesn't work. He goes, And it really works. I don't know why.
What's his status in Mexico? Like, where's he at on the roster as far as the tier list?
I mean, he's not the main event. He's just family entertainment, man. He's
like the R-Truth of Mexico in a way.
Yeah, kind of. He's the Santino kind of role.
Was R-Truth wasn't in this either, right?
No, he was in an advert for Xfinity beforehand.
I saw that. Yeah.
Anyway,
too full, man. This is the fullest Royal Rumble ever, I guess.
Trick Williams at number 10. Skip a couple. El Grande Americano comes out at number 12. And then another El Grande comes out at number 13, which is, of course, Shorty G. And weirdly, the fans didn't react to this much. But the one thing they did do was the Spider-Man point, which is, that should be the bare minimum if you're going to do, a who's the real one kind of thing. But yeah, Chad Gable's back.
It does feel like that a lot of stuff that people would pop for or react to in the States did not translate to Saudi Arabia. and then there were certain things they were really, really into. I think it's a great litmus test because you look at the people that got the biggest reactions when they came out for the Rumble. I would take that to heart and say, well, we had other things that we expected people to pop for and they just aren't familiar. You should look at that as a measuring stick in a way to say, this person's over no matter where we go with the show. We can use this person to be over. But yeah, the one person, I can't wait to get to it, that should have been over if he debuted at the Rumble in the States, or maybe should not have debuted in the Rumble at all. And that is Powerhouse Hobbs. I felt bad for this dude. Royce Keys.
Number 14. Powerhouse Hobbs comes upon the screen to deafening silence because they do not get AEW in Saudi Arabia. And then the name fades out. And because I was like, yes,
No,
the
it
glory
shatters.
Powerhouse Hobbs.
It shatters.
Weren't you excited? Like, oh, finally, they didn't give him that stupid name. And then it changed.
They probably were like, you know what? If we put a Powerhouse Hobbs, which, by the way, that's how you explain the name change on a Titantron? I was like, oh, man. But I'm looking at it, like you said, they're like, everybody's going to think and be really excited when they see Powerhouse Hobbs. Then we're literally going to shatter the Titantron and bring up the new Dolph Ziggler, Royce Keys.
People are going to comment, say, you don't understand. Royce is his son's name. There's nothing wrong with the name Royce as a name. I'm not saying it. There's nothing wrong with the surname Keys, which may well have been Will Hobbs's mother's maiden name, I think, or something. The point is that somebody should, and I imagine that he's come up with the name himself. It's like, you can't have your name. We've got to have a different one. The Rock's daughter had to change her name, which we'll get to later as well. But Royce Keys is a crap name for a powerhouse wrestler that used to be called Powerhouse Hobbs. What a downgrade. Why didn't someone talk him out of this one?
I have no idea, but I was going to say Royce Keys sounds like an Alberto Del Rio or a JBL character coming out to in a fancy suit and everything. That's what, no offense, if it has sentimental value for you, like you just explained, what are you laughing about?
It's Kerwin White.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Goodness.
It's the Kerwin White name. It's almost like a comedy name. Like, the Chavo Guerrero thing, and then all of a sudden he's part of the country club.
I can't wait for the finish, the keys to the castle, and all these other things to come out, all these Vince McMahon tropes. But why couldn't he be Powerhouse Hobbs?
Well, clearly it's not a problem because they use the name on Titantron.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Poor guy, man. He if you're going to debut him on Raw, feed him some locals, get the moves down. But even then, in the match setting and everything, it just felt like he didn't feel in place in the Rumble, if you know what I mean. It didn't feel like he was making any kind of impact, or he did a couple power moves, but it felt like it just kind of faded really quick. And of course, the fans not even reacting to the debut kind of is a fall. It's such a false negative on him because we were pretty excited that he was going to be in WWE, but this is not the way to do it.
No one else is excited there. Oh, do you know that I hope I'm right in saying this, Dave Meltzer actually said, well, people in Saudi Arabia aren't real wrestling fans because they don't know who Powerhouse Hobbs is. It's like, it doesn't air there. Right, according to this clown, Dave Meltzer, you are not a true wrestling fan unless you watch every single wrestling promotion in the world, including all the Mexican promotions that, for us in the UK, is damn near impossible to get without, a really high, over-the-top streaming tier or something, for CMLL or something. And there's too much wrestling as there is. Who is going to watch more? But the point is that apparently it's the fans' fault for not doing their research. The Tony Khan kind of.
Well, isn't that where wrestling's going? We talked about that before. They're shifting blame from themselves to the fans. It's your fault that you don't know. You should already know who this person is. And you just insulted Saudi Arabia, so don't ever go there, Dave.
Do you know who this isn't the first time they've done it. They've actually put the name on screen of somebody and then they changed it. And do you know who it was?
No, I don't. You said you were going to surprise me.
Okay, does the name Hideo Itami mean anything to you?
Yes, Kenta.
They did it with him. They actually brought him out as Kenta, and then he said, I'm changing my name to one of my heroes. Maybe it was Hideo Kojima. I don't know. But Hideo Itami is why he changed his name.
You know what's funny is I forgot that dude was even in NXT WWE. Forgot he was even there.
Isn't that ridiculous? He had such a huge career in Japan, and coming to WWE, he didn't even get to the main. Did he get to the main roster? He killed his career.
I think he got to one Rumble. I'm not sure, but he was injured a whole lot. I think both his shoulders or something. He got injured a ton, which is weird because in Japan, like, you're fighting for real, and you've seen Kenta matches. They're not necessarily light, you know, as far as moves or anything. He comes to the Performance Center in NXT and is constantly injured.
We have to mention the Royce Keys. I'm just looking at the name here. My biggest worry is with Royce Keys now, apart from the name, is the fact that Tony Khan quite clearly almost has like a bias against like the really big wrestlers, right? He never does too much with them, or if he does, it's stop-start. You know, your Wardlows, your Brian Cages, etc. There's a lot of big bills you could go on. But my worry is that Powerhouse Hobbs looks big on AEW TV, but in WWE land, when you're sharing a ring with... Did he share a ring with Brock Lesnar? I don't know, but he definitely did with...
He faced off against Obafemi,
Yes,
didn't he?
that's my point, yeah.
And that guy's not necessarily like, you know, like a Drew McIntyre or anybody like that. You know what I mean? Think about it. Drew's a big dude. Orton's a big dude. Who else do you have? LA Knight. He would probably he'd be right on there on size-wise with LA Knight, except a little bit thicker.
Damian Priest was in. I'm trying to think of like who he was in with. Damian Priest, I think he was in with. Bronson Reed, he would have been in with. Hella Parker, we'll get to him in a minute. And then there are quite a few small guys. I think he was eliminated when... Because Bronson Reed eliminated Royce Keys, in fact. I think Brock Lesnar might have been in after Royce Keys was gone. But he's not going to stand out for his size. I mean, because he's not the tallest dude. He's a thick dude. But if he goes to like SmackDown, I mean, you've got everyone from Jeff Cobb to Drew McIntyre there. You know, so do you think that's why they changed his name to a point? So he's not Powerhouse? Because how can you call yourself Powerhouse when you've got 20 guys on the roster bigger than you?
Well, it's not. The Powerhouse name has to do with he could pick guys that big up. I think it's even more impressive to say I'm a powerhouse. The vignettes are coming probably 6 years from now for this guy. But when I look at that, the vignettes should have been him deadlifting as much as he can, squat and showing and even if you're talking about Mark Henry, who I guess is still in good graces with WWE, that could be something right there as far as passing the torch from the world's strongest man to Powerhouse Hobbs.
What do you think of the way he moved around and stuff? I mean, did he look like he belonged?
No more or less, he didn't stand out, if that's more accurate. That's what I'm more worried about. He didn't stand out at all. Did you feel that way?
Kind of. The one thing I did like is how he and Cody Rhodes faced off briefly as well, and it was
they
kind
said they're
of
familiar
hinted,
with each other.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. Well, why don't we talk about this bipolar nature of this exact segment of the Rumble? Powerhouse Hobbs, they get excited. The Titantron shatters and Royce Keys. All right, now we're ignoring everything from Powerhouse Hobbs until he faces off with Cody Rhodes. And these men know each other very well. No, they don't. Cody Rhodes has no idea who Royce Keys is. Do you see the disconnects?
But you might as well, Michael Cole might as well just say, because he did say it with El Grande Americano 1 and 2. He said, look it up on Wikipedia, folks, or whatever he said. Or just look it up on Wikipedia.
I'm going to shut the Rumble off and we'll start asking ChatGPT questions.
Logan Paul comes in. He is confronted by Hobbs, or Royce Keys, and Logan says, and it's audible, who the hell are you?
That gives you, yep, do the Fallout thumbs up on that one. That gives you memories of The Rock and Booker T, right?
I was thinking Mike Knox and Shawn Michaels.
That too. They've done it a lot, but it never bodes well. But the Logan Paul thing, and he might have watched some of that, but that's not exactly an endorsement of anybody. And if anybody wanted to book Royce Keys, I would book him against Logan Paul, but then you're obviously not going to get anywhere because the vision's going to definitely go over.
Right, let's skip ahead a few. Let's go to number 19, La Parka, the emaciated La Parka. Is he contracted some sort of wasting disease? But we know it's not the original.
People that thought I was La Parka, and I was like, I'm right here, baby. Right here with James Romero. This was definitely Nutrisystem La Parka that came out and didn't even do the dance right. I was waiting for this. Even I could kind of do it, and I'm terrible at everything.
Did he kind of sway back and forth instead?
He did like the snake. He should have had Mr. Iguana out there doing the iguana.
It's so funny because I was looking at AAA here. This is the most AAA people they've had in the Rumble since '97. You know, when Mil Mascaras wandered out and then half eliminated himself, but didn't quite, but he threw him out anyway.
Yeah, those were times where they were trying. I don't know. Every time WWE tries to work with these other promotions, it always kind of falls flat. Even though in theory, it's like dream booking, isn't it? If you're a real wrestling fan and you watch the 142 promotions around the world, like Dave Meltzer wants you to, this should be exciting. But it feels like you're not going to have a AAA person winning the Rumble, at least not this year.
How would you rank this? It's like La Parka 4 Mission to Moscow. It just a random new one turns up. I know there's like loads of legal stuff.
La Parka 4, La Parka Harder, like Die Hard.
A New Hope.
Here he is. There's no hope of him winning this.
Oh, dude,
you got to eat a few hamburgers before even I could probably press slam this La Parka.
You know the original La Parka, who is now LA Park for legal reasons, because there was that's LA Park. The guy who replaced him as La Parka, because I think CMLL AAA must own the character, and CMLL doesn't. I think it's very confusing. Anyway, the original La Parka, Adolfo, whatever he is, he's the fattest bastard in the world now. Did you see me about a year ago? Some like audience member grabbed him and he just punched him right in the face.
Oh yeah, you showed that to me.
Yeah.
But he was always a thick guy, even way back in WCW in the 90s when I was there. He was a pretty thick guy.
We'll get back to the match then. Brock Lesnar is out at, where is it, number 22, I think. Was he? Yes, number 22. He is unaffiliated, despite the fact that he's part of the Vision, as far as Raw or SmackDown
But he walked out with Paul.
Yeah. But he's not affiliated to any show, apparently.
Oh, wild card, pal.
Well, him and Royce Keys, both wild cards out there. Okay, here's the big thing, and I want to ask you this because he did it more than once. He seemed to search for people on the floor to know where they were, and then purposely suplex people onto those people on the floor.
Well, at least he's looking out for the people he's suplexing to the floor. Raquel Rodriguez just went, here's a powerbomb, there's the apron, bye. That's it. So, yeah, I mean, he definitely was dragging off. I would have stayed far away from Brock, dragging off when he just snatched him up and everything off of that. Who took the worst out of the, I think it was Dragunov that took the worst German. Really got planted on that one.
Was it Dragunov who was chopping Brock, and then Brock just went, not today, buddy?
He laughed at him. Yeah.
Do you think this is the kind of thing where this is planned out, or you got to do some fill? You can't plan everything out, and Dragunov just shot his shot.
Yeah, there's certain times where you feel like, okay, until the next thing, you guys got to just kind of find each other, do something. You can't memorize every single thing. And yeah, Dragunov was like, oh, that'd be cool. Wouldn't it be cool? You know, it'd be cool. It wasn't cool because now you're not viewed that way. But it's Brock. What are you going to do? I think LA Knight took a great German for. Obviously, I could tell he didn't want to go. Wouldn't want to either. But he took and Brock was landing people. Everybody but Dragunov landed pretty safe, but maybe Dragunov threw his legs over his head. He likes to, for some reason, do damage to himself.
He certainly does. Obafemi and Brock Lesnar face off. But there was 2 instances where they split off, did other things, and then they met in the middle, and then the buzzer happens. And then Brock goes, no, let's wait. And then they peel off and do their own thing. And then, isn't there at some point that Brock went, let's just do it. And then, wipes him out.
It didn't, it didn't have the same feel as when Brock and Keith Lee faced off. That was some cool stuff. Remember that? I think it was Minute Maid Stadium, Houston, that they had that Rumble. Come
Hey,
on,
dude, if you
CT,
say so,
not today.
dude, your memory's better than
I'm
mine.
sure
I'll
the
tell you that.
comments will let me know. That was a moment. That was what I was hoping for the Obafemi Brock stuff. And it looked like Brock wanted to kind of do something with him. Then the buzzer went off. That was not timed well. But yeah, I mean, the Obafemi guy, he showed out against Cody. He showed out in the Rumble. He really did. It kind of trailed off until Brock got in the ring, but he really was featured. That was a great spot for him. And I wish I go back to Powerhouse Hobbs because I heard he's a really nice guy. I wish they would have waited a few days to debut him. It wasn't fair to him.
Roman's out 26. I think his contract states that he always must have a late entry number because he always seems to be in like the last 5 or so that he comes out these days. Jacob Fatu's 27. I missed Jay Uso, I think. Oh, also, I forgot this very briefly.
But
Cody
did
Rhodes...
Jay start eating in the middle of this match again?
Yes, and then Roman Reigns wiped him out, thankfully, which is fully deserved, and I endorse it. Brock Lesnar got wiped out almost anticlimactically by Cody and LA Knight, which I thought was interesting.
It was very weird. It felt like Brock, and I don't know if Brock's back full time, but it felt like this was just a one-off appearance based on what you just said with the elimination.
LA Knight, I noticed this, right? So I think Penta, the cheat from the Royal Rumble from last year, because he was definitely eliminated within like 30 seconds, and then he touched his feet, and then he just pretended he didn't. He was at 28. And then I wrote this, LA Knight runs wild at this point, after Penta gets in, and I said, I bet he's about to get thrown out. Within 5 seconds, he gets thrown out. Is this like a kind of trope as well, that you sort of like do the run wild thing, make yourself really visible, to then get thrown out straight afterwards? Is that a trope, or is that something that doesn't happen that often?
Well, yeah, it's a trope that actually serves you because you're at your highest point and get caught out of nowhere and you get eliminated before you even know what happened. So you can look at it one of two ways, or I would have loved to see LA Knight in the last 5 and go at it with Logan Paul and do something like that. He's a guy, man, he's on the verge, and they just keep holding him back.
Mm-hmm.
It's the easiest thing in the world. Just let the push go, right? They just keep hamstringing this guy, and I feel for him.
Orton's 29. Apparently, he won twice, which I can't remember either year he did that, but apparently he did. Fans love Orton, many RKOs. 30 isn't Jericho, it's Gunther, who is very much dragging his leg to...
Love it.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah, I love the fact that he was selling from the match still.
Orton, Cody cutters Orton by accident, and then Cody gets half thrown out doing the Shawn Michaels thing, only for Drew to run out and Claymore him, that was a big surprise, and I thought it was a great touch, that as well.
Yeah, really, really good. I thought for a second there, and we still might get it, that Cody has to go on the side quest with Orton, which I hate about wrestling. Accidents happen. This would be like NFL players accidentally hit their own guy. Then that guy puts on the uniform for the other team and starts playing against the guy. It's just crazy. But yeah, with Cody, the way Cody was eliminated, whoever came up with that to put more heat on Drew as champion, I mean it. That was really well done.
Roman eliminates Jacob. Jay hits a spear on Roman, but Roman shrugs it off and throws Jay out anyway, which I love as well, because Jay's got the worst spear. Charlotte Flair's got the worst spear. Then I think it might be Jey Uso. And the final 4 are Roman, Randy Orton.
But before that, Jay threw out Jacob Fatu, correct?
No, I've written Roman eliminates Jacob.
I'm sorry, Roman did eliminate Jacob Fatu. And then Jay tried to eliminate Roman, and then they went into the spear elimination, right?
Yeah. The final 4 are Roman, Orton, Gunther, and Logan Paul. I'd like to just say this about Logan Paul now. His selling is fabulous. Absolutely top tier. I mean, he's as green as you like in a lot of other aspects, and you can tell when he's not practiced his matches, but he still gets it. He absolutely gets it more than most.
No, I agree with that. Even when he takes just a move where he has to be out, he's out. When he has to stay mobile and sell and move around and writhe in pain. Even his punches to Roman and the other guy, you know what I mean? It looks like he's really going at it. He's a natural. I mean, we talk about the Coffee Zone thing and all the stuff is obviously he seems to be a really terrible human being, but he's in a business filled with terrible human beings, so he's in a good spot.
Roman ejects Logan Paul. Gunther throws out Orton. I actually wrote tough call who was going to win. I'll say Roman. Those are my live notes. Much sleeper work until Roman hits the spear, throws out Gunther for the win. Will Roman pick Drew or Punk, in your opinion?
Whoa, that's an interesting question. Because if you really want to set a pivot point on Roman, re-involve Paul Heyman to a degree a little bit and Seth. But if you wanted to really put a pivot on Roman to do something new, and you want to put more credibility into that other world championship, that's actually not a bad choice. Because then Cody can go on chapter 3's hero's journey and Elimination Chamber to try to get a shot at Drew. That's not a bad idea.
So Roman is now the number one contender who's going to WrestleMania. He's going to pick one or the other. We might find out, I guess, tonight as we record this, which is a Monday. And then an impossibly large amount of fireworks explode for minutes on end to end the show. And keep in mind that by the end of the show, it was 2 a.m. and those fireworks were going off and the drones were hanging about saying Women's World Champion. That was really weird. Like all the fireworks went off and said, Women's World Champion, then the bell. You know, like all the drones like get in position with the lights and stuff, yeah.
Can I mention something real quick, Mary? Here's an alternate choice right here for Roman. And it's never been done before. You want to talk about a pivot or raising the stakes. What if he picks both? And he unifies the titles?
You see, that'd just be the dream, because I'll never, ever get on board with 2 world titles.
No, I'm saying, yeah. What I'm saying is, I don't want to choose either or. I want them both, and I want to win and unify both titles.
Yeah, that'd be great. I don't think it'll happen.
But you cut your belt sales in half.
So what? I mean, it's just
no. I'm saying that's what
them.
That's the way they think. But I'm talking about Roman. You said, "Oh man, it's good old reliable and all this stuff," and people saying for Roman, if you want to give him something special, either he goes after Punk for the world title, or he says, "Screw it, I'm doing this," and then Cody's trying to fight for the 4th spot in there to relive that amazing WrestleMania 2000 main event.
Ooh, do you think Vince and Linda would be in the same room?
I think we're going to have the grandkids have ringside in each corner.
Oh, you mean like when Vince and Brett did that WrestleMania thing?
Oh, no. I meant their 3 daughters, Triple H and Stephanie. I think they're like 13 or something. Well, that thing in Arizona when Vince and Brett fought and all the Hart Foundation. Oh, that was
painful.
Dude, yeah.
And do you know what's so annoying is that, like, we saw in subsequent matches, Brett could still kind of go to a point. And then they do that. Oh, it was awful. And the build was fantastic.
It really was. I don't know why they couldn't just have like a street fight and have nobody really bump or anything or do spots.
Yeah. It's madness. Anyway.
Sorry, I brought back bad memories for you.
Yeah, you did. And also, I've got to say, maybe the worst WrestleMania entrance ever. As in the stage set. Awful. Absolutely awful. Just a load of triangles. All right. Just to wrap up with the Royal Rumble thing. Good show in the end, I guess. And how do you rate? I know we're not doing ratings, but was it a good men's Royal Rumble?
Yeah, I think so, especially with all the, how should I say, negative publicity of that press conference and going to Saudi Arabia and everything. The actual show itself was very solid, which lends to believe, like, man, for the tickets being affordable and all that stuff and potentially not being sold out, they missed out on a really, probably one of the best shows in Saudi Arabia too, if not the best, because it was booked to go to WrestleMania, not booked as a sold show standing alone on its own. So I'd put it right up there. Maybe, I don't know, had its moments. You have memories and moments of AJ and Gunther and AJ's retirement and things like that. I would probably have to rank it right up there. I mean, obviously, if you wanted me to choose, the men's Rumble is better than the women's as far as structure and format. But I think the women's finish, the actual finish, was a lot more exciting and kind of innovative than the men's. I mean, when I choked Big Show, and strangled him and pulled him over the top rope, people thought that was a little bit boring back in the day.
Hey, but you got a WrestleMania 20 thing and a World Championship run. You did very well.
My friend Angro and I celebrated.
Yeah, you're still picking out the confetti from your hair 20 years later. Right. Okay, let's stop there. Okay, then, so we're going to do a bit of news and bits of interest in the wrestling world over the past few days that kind of didn't relate to the Royal Rumble, really. And the first one is this from The Undertaker that he said on his podcast, one with Cody Rhodes, in fact. And it's about, I guess, exposing the business too much when he's on a WWE paid podcast, exposing the business every week. Anyway, here's the quote.
How do you guys feel about Unreal?
The actual presentation and everything is wonderful, right? And from my aspect and my end of the business, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I don't, everybody's going to say, oh my God, that's an old school guy trying to protect kayfabe. Look, I don't care if it's 2025, it's 1990, or it's 1984. Everybody understands what wrestling is.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
100%.
Ain't no big veil been lifted.
Yeah.
Except I don't want to go to see a magician and know how he's doing everything.
Yeah.
And I understand that there's a huge part that like, oh, that's interesting. I want to do that. But there's still that aspect because you tell me.
Yeah.
And I'll give you my perspective. Everybody knows what we do.
Yeah.
Right? But when I'm in the ring, my whole goal, my motivation is to get one person, just one person to think, wow, Undertaker just clocked him.
Yeah.
I don't care what everybody else is doing. That right there, that was the real thing. So there's always the doubt. But anyway, no, that's my belief on it.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to throw it in people's face.
Yeah.
I think we've got too comfortable. I think we're too comfortable now in talking about our business. And I struggle on these podcasts too.
Oh yeah.
Because it's hard to talk. It's hard to talk and tell stories without without lifting it up a little bit. But I think we've gone too far. And again, I understand.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what it is, what we do. But there's got to be a little bit of mystery.
Well, Stevie, we're going to rip all that apart because he's moaning about wanting to protect the business.
Didn't Cody always ask him how you like podcasting? He said it sucks.
Did he?
I heard somebody said that in one of the comments on your video.
Why does he do it? Because all he did apparently with the old co-host was moan to him that he didn't want to do it. And now he's doing it again. Why does he want to do these podcasts where he breaks kayfabe constantly and reveals secrets of the back, behind the scenes, if he hates it so bad?
Well, we have a reputation for being gluttons for punishment. So maybe there's still some of that. I don't know what to think about this, except I think his perspective is, as a person that's retired, when I did it as Undertaker, I protected the gimmick, I protected kayfabe. He may be, this is just me giving him the benefit of the doubt. He may be talking about the people on social media. As you said before, somebody is about to have a big match or had a big match, and they're at Disneyland together, or Disney World, or they're taking photos together as they're involved in a major storyline together. Do you think he's talking about that? And obviously, Unreal just opens up all the floodgates to that. I think it's interesting because he's given his opinion on it, and it's not in line with what Triple H feels about this show. There are different opinions.
That's interesting because I think there's a lot of people in WWE, because even Paul Heyman, he's in the trailer for Unreal saying how much he hates the concept of Unreal. So why do these people, and I don't doubt that he doesn't like it, so why do these people even be associated with it, Unreal or WWE because it feels like never the twain shall meet. Why are WWE producing their own exposés in podcast form and reality show form? I just kind of think that that's something they should never do, or only do in very select circumstances where they don't then promote it on live TV every week.
Yeah, something like CM Punk coming back with Survivors, like a WWE 24. They used to do that documentary style for the day of WrestleMania, but then they would still show people that we're going to work together. We're sitting on the apron trying to figure out what all this is all about and what we can do. Was Paul Heyman just doing it to be a heel? Because it's very strange that you have the company pushing it and the people that are on it that are in the company burying it.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Elgato at the moment were advertising some of their stuff with 1-star reviews. But it was like, kind of bait and switch, like, oh, it sucked so much time away from me and, I couldn't stop using it and my wife and kids don't see me anymore, 1 star. You think it's that kind of thing?
That what? Don't you watch it? We hate it. Don't you watch it? Yeah, very spiteful world, right? The Streisand effect.
Okay, so I think some people are arguing on the Undertaker side that, he's got a podcast, he's retired now, and it's all right for him to talk about these things and reveal everything. Also keep in mind that he does comment quite frequently that he doesn't like wrestling these days, or he doesn't think it's up to the standard, of when he was active, I guess. But do you think there should be a time limit on withholding the secrets and then after a while it's fine to just give them all away?
Can I counter with another question for you? How do you think Triple H is going to react? Because he's one of those people that exposed the business that he wishes he could tell to F off. Remember? The critics.
Yes.
If you're talking about Undertaker saying he doesn't like the current product and he doesn't like Unreal, remember the Triple H quote from not too long ago?
Mm-hmm.
He said, I wish I could tell all these critics and these people exposing the business to go F off.
What do you think Moose's position would be on this?
Oh man, it might be a Scanners moment where his head explodes.
I still love that. It's like, you can't criticize wrestling unless you've been a top flight wrestler. It's like, dude, you never even been in WWE.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest cell phone in the world.
Friend of the show, Moose. Friend of the show. But getting back to Taker, he's the epitome for decades of protecting kayfabe. And now he does have a podcast. Now he is retired. And like I say, I'll stick to what I said before. And what you said, he doesn't care for the current product. I think that also entails social media, exposing the business. If you're in a current storyline, you're hanging out with this person, you're flying, you're traveling with them. He's got a point with it, but guess what? The horse has been out of the barn since they spoke in front of Congress decades ago. And now you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Pandora's box, you can use whatever metaphor or cliche you want to use. What can you do now? What can bring the reality-based suspension to disbelief for the fans back? I don't know.
Okay, put it in their contracts that they can't do that. Look, who are the two of the best people on social media who are active wrestlers? Drew McIntyre and MJF. And there's a reason. It's because they keep up the pretense. They think about what they're going to post publicly and how it's going to advance their career or even an on-screen feud. They actually put in the effort and make it work for them. Practically nobody else does, or at least with any believability. I think the social media thing, that's a cultural thing. I think with The Undertaker, it was a watershed moment when he was the guy to just say, actually, I'm dropping all the pretenses. I'm going to let everybody know what happens and all the backstage aspects. And this is entirely voluntary. But then he still goes on all these WWE-affiliated official podcasts they advertise every week and then says that he hates people who expose the business or he hates that the business is being exposed. But he's party to it. And that's why I don't understand. So is there a time limit on kayfabe? Is there not? Do you want to protect the business? You just said you prefer the business how it used to be, where not everybody went out and had a shoot interview in a podcast or social media, yet you're feeding the machine. And because he's such a big star, more people are going to listen to him do it than most other people do it. You see the dichotomy, the hypocrisy of it all. And it's really frustrating that and then at the end of it, well, people in the IWC are going to complain about, yeah, it's because we're pointing out the blatant hypocrisy of it. That's the point.
Oh, man, I just got some PTSD of my wrestling career because that minefield you just described is everything that embodies and encapsulates the wrestling business. Well, yesterday it was okay. Tomorrow it won't be. The day before I was getting heat. 2 days from now I'm going to wrestler's court, all for the same exact thing. That's the wrestling business. It has an identity issue. What are you? What are you presenting? Taker's kind of a symptom or presenting a symptom of that, are we real? Are we fake? Do we believe you're hurt? Do we not believe you're hurt? Are you guys friends? Are you not? Or everything's fake, but this is real. Too much thinking, too much computing for the fans rather than just the raw emotion of what's presented in front of you, right? In other words, what we say, take a drink, just like future episode. The stuff is not hard to figure out. It's not hard to do this. Keep it simple. They constantly complicate it to that. That's why Undertaker's a legend. That's why Undertaker's still remembered to some degree for what he did. Because he protected kayfabe, not because, oh, these are marks. And it's like, I'm going to be the dead man. I'm going to be the Undertaker. I'm going to have a pallbearer. I'm going to have an urn. I'm going to have a casket. I'm going to have occasionally these matches where I put people in body bags or caskets or buried alive. We get it, right? If he said, well, I'm a mortician, but I'm not really the mortician you're thinking about because I like hand puppets. Like what? I have Mr. Iguana's iguana here.
Yeah. He committed
This
to
is
the
the
bit
real
for 30
me.
years.
This is the real me. That's the problem with today's talent. Oh, that's pretend. I remember Retribution? They got off to a strong start, Retribution. Turned out to be Ali and Mia Yim and all these people.
Right, yeah.
Remember they came out with masks on and made animal faces. So they officially or initially blew up a transformer. Now they were like, almost like Antifa. They were like, terrorists within WWE. Mia Yim goes on Twitter and says, we're not really those people. We're not terrorists. I mean, it's not the most comfortable gimmick to have, but you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's very little commitment. Why can't you everybody just tell everybody, right, do not say these things on social media. If you do, you'll be fired with cause.
You might as well. I thought at one point they did take over everybody's social media accounts. You might as well take them over and have like 10 people all handling the accounts and tweeting or maybe even writers tweeting or putting up on social media according to your storyline and nothing else.
I wouldn't mind it if they were just themselves or whatever, but if it kind of made sense, if you're not once again going to like the Roman Colosseum with the guy that you're supposed to be feuding with on screen.
And how about Aleister Black, the demon guy and everything, going to Hobby Lobby with his wife?
Yeah. That was weird. People are oversharing. I mean, the Undertaker. I didn't say. I said this to somebody else. Said the Undertaker's new gimmick. He's the oversharer, but everyone's the oversharer. Everyone's got the same character now. Everyone's the oversharer on social media, man.
This is the only place I overshare. Everywhere else, I'm gone. I'm not on social media. There's people furiously like, he's not replying back to me. I said something mean. Never saw it. It's been a year and a half.
Should we move on? Do you want to talk about the YouTube thing briefly? Because this is just all speculation on my part, but
sure.
We'll be very quick because we've got a couple of other.
I'm going to do the Hogan and Brett to you, Taker. It's yours, Taker, not mine.
Yeah. The old Undertaker YouTube channel has now mysteriously deleted all of its content, and in its place is like the old co-host called Matt, and he's doing his own content there, and it's not doing that great compared to the nearly 800. And this is not a knock or a criticism. It's how it is. It's not doing great because that's not what people signed up for. And, you try and take advantage of the 800,000 near subscribers, and rightly so, you should give it a go. But there's two things. One of them is you're better off starting from scratch than taking over a YouTube channel and giving them something totally different. And two, the reason why that content was removed is either one, a huge amount of hubris, thinking that the co-host could like usurp those subscribers for himself, which I don't believe has happened, because that channel is still doing like 1 to 2 million views a month, and that's a lot of passive income. You know what I mean? So why would you give that up? So that my idea is that either one, he was forced to give up that content for one reason or another, or two, he was bought out. What do you think?
Yeah, that's the only two I can think of. And, the only thing he could have done was try to relaunch a smartboard channel. So don't do that, Matt. There you go. But yeah, look, like when you told me, and we know what the views are here, and generally based on your experience and your research, he could be sitting on 5 figures a month by not doing anything. So yeah, either he got bought out, and you told me all those videos are unlisted now, and now it's a brand new channel with him just commentating on wrestling, correct?
Yeah. Now, I don't know if those views include shorts as well. They probably did. So I don't know how much they'd actually be making. But, that's 4 figures a month definitely coming in. So, yeah, if it was half and half, it'd definitely be 4 figures coming in. And that's good passive income.
So your two speculative theories seem to be one or the other. Either he just wanted to go off on his own, or
I doubt that.
there's two.
I doubt that. I really doubt
No,
that.
there's
You
the
don't
other
turn down
two-
that money.
The other two are more prominent. Either he was told by WWE, take it down, or you're going to be in trouble, or Taker said it to them on behalf of WWE, hey man, can you just unlist those videos? Or they originally bought him out off of Taker going to WWE, and that's why. Now, did he leave the videos up until these? Were they live, or they become unlisted when Taker went to the WWE channel?
They were live for a while afterwards. I know that. I can give you the exact day they were unlisted if you really want me to.
I'm just saying, is there a point where Matt was making the passive income off of that, and then they shut it down, or he decided, that he was going to go off on his own?
That is my theory. I'm going to tell you in a second, so I'll have to just pause one sec. So they were still bringing, 50, 60,000 views a day. And then mysteriously on January the 28th, 281 million views down. So that is when the videos were taken down and then replaced, I guess, with one of Matt's videos.
Oh, wow.
So this is a recent thing. So he's been
You say he had a total of 281 million views for the channel?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
I can't imagine with WWE how many billions of views they have. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's a ton of money, I'll tell you that. Right, we're going to move on. Let's go to Ava. Ava reigned formerly at one point in WWE. Simone Johnson, the daughter of The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Of course, she was a fourth generation, let's not loosely use the word superstar. She has left WWE. She made an announcement on Instagram, I believe. She was the GM of NXT for 2 years. And once again, she's left NXT and subsequently WWE as well. She was not pushed. She jumped, I guess, decided not to renew. Here's the quote. This past Tuesday was my last appearance on NXT and subsequently WWE. Thank you to all who have cheered, watched, and supported me through my journey. While my decision to not renew my contract was very difficult, it's also a new turning point in my life. It has been an honor and a privilege to be Ava. Now, there's an extra theory here, is that I hadn't realized that she was a lesbian, and apparently they fired her girlfriend a couple of weeks earlier.
Oh, they did?
Apparently so.
Oh, I didn't know that. Do you think that's kind of a protest type thing to not renew it, or
What?
I'm sure she has a job waiting for her at $7 production, right? She'll be okay.
Well, that's the interesting thing. Why would you fire her girlfriend? Do you think they wanted to get rid of her and they knew the contract was coming up?
I have no idea, but that's 2 weeks apart, right? That's kind of a weird coincidence.
WWE responded, WWE thanks and applauded Simone Garcia Johnson for her stellar work as Ava and beyond. Her passion, dedication, and impact were felt across the entire NXT and WWE community. We wish her the very best in all her future endeavors, which I like to see future endeavors be brought back. Okay, cards on the table here. Ava was pretty bloody awful.
Yeah, it was a pretty vanilla character. It really didn't. Did she really do anything anytime I tuned in NXT, and it wasn't very often, and she was there. The only time I think that she grabbed any kind of attention in the backstage pre-tape, which was, I think, gorilla position, was Ethan Page, and she was there with her dad. That was about the only memorable type thing right there that I could do or recall with that. But yeah, I look forward to seeing Simone Johnson as a producer on Seven Bucks production. Seven Ducks. That's what I'm doing.
Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis, obviously they're SmackDown Raw GMs. Like, they've got presence. They've got authority. They dress well. They're seasoned pros. They know how to present themselves. They know how to act. They're very good at what they do. They bring value. Whenever Ava was on TV, it's like, oh, you're The Rock's daughter. this is why you're in this position. I can't see anyone ever thinking she. And we'll get to the whole other thing in a second of the belief that she made it all on her own. That The Rock actually said.
I'm going to tell you right now, nobody who's in the bubble and nobody who wants to keep their job in WWE or stay in good graces with The Rock are ever going to say anything different than what we're saying during this segment.
The Rock said, this was to MTV UK a few months ago, I am so proud of her being his daughter, because it's what I did, and I love what I did. I love wrestling. I grew up in wrestling. She was born into it too, just like I was. And when she said, hey, I want to do what you do, but the difference is, and it's why I get emotional, because she's like, I want to do what you do, but I want to carve my own path. That's the difference. That was the big deal when I heard that, because it's easy, I think, for any kid who wants to come up and do what their parents are doing too. Maybe it's not overt, but to utilize the influence. I'm telling you, it never happened. Remember that. I never got that call, like, hey, can you call someone? Could you? I never got that call, and that's the truth. And that's the thing that makes me proud. Look, I'd have been there anyway. I would have made that call. But when you don't get it, it gave me a profound sense of pride because I helped with a mum raise an amazing human being. We're not saying she's not an amazing human being. We're saying no call ever had to be placed, surely.
Well, you tell a great story about Rocky in Memphis, where basically they created tracks for him because he didn't want to be down there in the developmental territory in Memphis anymore, correct?
Yeah. We'll get to that in a minute. So Ava Johnson, well, she was called Ava Rain. She was hired in 2019, I think. And it took her 2.5 years of training to even be allowed on NXT TV. My argument was this is the slowest fast-tracked like push on TV in the world, because she only did a few matches. She was so bad as a wrestler. After 3 years, they took her out of the ring again to be Shawn Michaels' assistant and then the GM. And I was thinking, name one other person in the wrestling business who WWE would go out of their way for, because as far as I know, she isn't particularly athletic. She had no natural ability to be a pro wrestler whatsoever. She's not a particularly good talker, yet they seem to have bent over backwards. And yet The Rock here, Dwayne, is saying, hey, she never had to make the call. She carved her own path here. So they wouldn't have given her a second look if she was not related to him, surely.
Well, the speculation is, too, that you talked about she was signed in 2019. She trained for 3 years. That was the COVID era where they released a lot of people. So you would think they would tell her, hey, come back afterwards or do whatever. Yeah, she was definitely, but that's the business. It really is who you know or who you're related to in that vein, and especially in that company. Fourth generation means a lot. They're going to try to see wherever they can fit her in there. And yeah, it's a shame that she didn't really have it to be a wrestler, because her as a female wrestler being the Rock's daughter, they were probably looking at instant money. If we can get her to be a decent worker, we can make some money with this as a female Rock character. And we have The Rock here as, one of the people that pretty much own the company in a way on the board of directors. In theory, it's like, yeah, the patience should wear off or pay off. It wore off, I guess. The patience should pay off eventually. And I don't think this thing of trying to find a spot for her to keep Rocky happy, and then he ended up not being happy, I guess, right? So he ended up gone anyway. That could also be it too. Is there another wrinkle to the story where Rocky is kind of like never coming back, and she figured, why would I renew? My dad's not even a part of this thing anymore.
I think it's the complete lack of self-awareness. It's like, yeah, she never made the call because she didn't have to. You were on the board of directors, buddy. You were paid $30 million for nothing, really. Just to sit on the board with Nick Khan and a few other people. Like, you are the boss's boss's boss here. Apart from
$30 million and
$7,
by the way.
Yes, that's true. In fact, the symbol... it's the lack of self-awareness that gets me. It's like, she didn't make it on her own at all. She was born into fabulous wealth and privilege, and you got her a plum job with NXT because of who you are. Or she got herself that job and probably just let say, hey, The Rock's my dad. She didn't even have to. They probably recognized her from backstage. Somebody did.
Here's the thing with that. People will defend and say this is on the up and up. Nobody's going to speak against him because he's The Rock. But quite frankly, it doesn't matter. If she got in there and she performed, no matter what gets you in there, when you're there, that's where she fell flat. She didn't succeed as a wrestler at all. And as a GM, she never stood out. In other words, she stayed in NXT just because probably to keep The Rock happy. And that's the thing. Maybe this girl has some type of talent or skill or some kind of passion that's not wrestling, but this crutch of this will kind of carry around with her, or be her albatross to carry. Like you said, he said she's a wonderful human being. We're not discounting that. We're looking at the nuts and the bolts of she got a job there. He got her a job. She stayed there a long, long time, and she probably would have still been in, and they would have renewed her contract, right? So she probably would still be there if she chose to still be there.
Because I already said this on my video, but very quickly, with The Rock, he didn't really get in on his own anyway, because he was third generation. Rocky Johnson was in with Pat Patterson. His dad made the call. Pat gave him like a private audience to, audition him. And The Rock was great. It wouldn't have worked if he wasn't great. And, he had all the physical gifts and the looks and the whole bit. But the thing is the way The Rock tells it is that, they sent me to Memphis. I was training there for 6 months. He wasn't. He was training there for 3 on the road. And he hated it. And he called up J.J. Dillon, who was vice president of talent relations, and said, get me out of here. And then they did. They made an entire training center just for The Rock because he complained. They would have fired anybody else for doing that. Like, The Rock was so privileged with WWE. And even when he could, not that he blew it, because they told him to do one thing and it didn't work with the smiling, happy, waving at the crowd kind of thing. Always bare your teeth smiling at the fans. They were going to give him chance after chance after chance because of who he was and who he knew and who loved him. And the way he says it. And he was probably better paid than most of the people in Memphis anyway. And he was better paid. He had a better contract than half the people when he got to the show, and he'd never wrestled for them. It's like he so much so much stuff handed to him. But it wouldn't have worked, obviously, if he wasn't great, and he was great. We're not saying that as well. But Ava was terrible, and she eked out, 6 years. She joined in 2020, not 19, I'm sorry.
All great points, but guess what? You're a hater because that's The Rock, and because he won matches, he's better, and he tells the truth.
But I love The Rock.
I know you do. You wrote a book.
Yeah. He's just got no self-awareness. That's the thing. And that drives me up the wall. What do you want?
Oh, God. And we're going to go from this to smelly wrestlers, I guess.
Yeah, Ricky Morton, smelly wrestlers. This is what he wrote a few days ago. Hygiene in pro wrestling is not optional. If you're stepping in a ring, wash your gear, wash yourself, and have some respect for the people you're working with. Nothing ruins a weekend faster than someone whose stuff stinks. Big pet peeve from this past weekend. Rant over.
Yeah, I can get along with that. And being in the ring with Balls Mahoney and a bunch of other people where you want to just take a Febreze bottle and pour it in their bag and just close it and leave it overnight.
Ah, dear.
I'm not naming any names, though.
I was going to ask you for some names.
Balls Mahoney would come to, he wasn't as bad as he looked, though, as far as the smell. But, there's legendary ones like Vader would never wash his gear or anything. That was always a big deal. Brett talks about that with that. But I never had anybody that, Ricky, I've been in the ring with Ricky Morton. He's actually one of the best smelling wrestlers. He was, he had a good deodorant and everything, good body wash or whatever, and it was good.
Didn't Rob Van Dam stink of talcum powder? What was that thing about?
We don't need a 20-minute video from him. No, Maven already talked
I'll have
about
an
it.
omnibus on it. Crikey.
No.
Probably, I don't know. Do you know that Bradshaw, this actually came up recently when he was still taking over, subbing for Bruce Pritchard for a while. The reason that he shaved his big handlebar mustache off in 98 was because Vader smelled so bad, he got like the stench in his mustache and he couldn't get rid of it and he had to shave it off. That's why he was just randomly clean shaven for a few months. It's like, how bad must it be?
Wow. Well, the reputation with Vader is probably well founded. I never heard of anybody saying, that's like saying, like, I was in the ring with Vader and he put his hands on me to so smell, shave my head because I couldn't get out of my hair.
So, yeah,
Wow.
apparently that happened. I'll say this right. When I was doing judo, like 13 years old, you know, at the local club, having fun, there was a big sign, like, on the door that said, you will not roll unless you're freshly washed, your gear is freshly washed, and also your nails are clipped as well. They were really, really strong on that, and rightly so. Do wrestling schools not have this?
No. Believe it or not, it's just something and most times guys won't say anything. You would think the guys will get around like Vader and say, we're going to a laundromat right now. Or if the arena has a washer and dryer, we're going in there right now. As a matter of fact, I would always, when I'd start off the tour, I would go and I'd make sure my nails were cut because somebody sliced up my forearm one time just by grabbing me and their nails were so long. And it wasn't Luna Vachon. She got me with the metal ones on my back. But the first thing I would do when I would land, because this was post 9/11, by the way, before that I would bring it with me, I would go to the local pharmacy, Walmart, whatever, and get a bottle of Febreze. And even most times I would wash my gear in the hotel sink. And then there would be times where I would, honestly, if an arena had a washer and dryer and it was a longer tour, I would end up using the washer and dryer at the arena.
I didn't even know arenas had them. At this point, we're going to shut down the show because I know for a fact that Stevie's prompter has broken for the 4th time, that we've had to edit all this out because my screen just turned green. So I'm going to do the outro now, and also it's nearly 5 o'clock. I've got to go relieve the babysitter as well. So we've got a bit of news that we can either follow up. You're back. Good. Yeah, I've got to go deal with the babysitter now. I've just received a text. So we've got a couple of bits of news that we may do later in the week as exclusives, or we can just leave for next week. But I will thank everybody so much for watching. We'll be back again next Friday with a fan question episode. I will release... I'm going to post something on the YouTube. It used to be called the community board, but now it's just posts. I'll do it like a week out with a big picture on it, and it'll come up on your feed saying, hey, we want your questions. Submit your questions here by replying to this post, and that is how we're going to pick the questions from there. But once again, thank you so much for everybody watching, and I will throw it over to Stevie to take us out and to thank the Patreon supporters as well.
Well, James and I would both agree that this episode is not sponsored by Elgato because his keyboard and my prompter are not working correctly. It's probably a USB-C cable that's going on me right now, but we want to thank everybody for watching this show, episode 83, our Royal Rumble review show along with news. Thank you so much. Please subscribe, click the bell to get notified. Also want to thank all our Patreon members, patreon.com/Stevie Richards. By the way, it was actually 2 heat matches on the watch along from today as we record this. Spike Dudley and the match that retired and rebanned the Vertebreaker versus Hurricane. So thank you so much for watching this. See you next week or a little bit more than a week from now for episode 84 of the Stevie Richards Show. Aha, aha, and aha. Smartass. Did Korea ever Royal Rumble?
No, I think he was probably ushered somebody out.
It'd be the first do-si-do into a sunset flip at the Royal Rumble.
How many sunset flips did he do in the Royal Rumble? That big thing. Oh, do you know what? He might have been... No, because that was a Legends one, but that was not a Rumble. That was a Battle Royal.
All right, James and I are going to go off on a tangent. See you, everybody, next week.
Bye-bye.